Chapter 476. Muronging simply ignored Li Fan. No matter how Li Fan provoked and teased her along the way, Muronging just closed her eyes and rested, not saying a word. The two cars drove all the way to a mountain. There was a winding road built on the mountain, but it only reached halfway up the mountain and stopped at a small town. The small town was not big, and a stone tablet that was not very eye-catching was beside it. On it were the words, Medicine King Village, written in seal script. Legend had it that a genius apothecary had once appeared in the Medicine King Village. His miraculous hands could bring the dead back to life. At the same time, he was also proficient in the Book of Poison. At that time, the imperial court sent people to capture him and bring him to the capital to serve the imperial family. In the end, the moment he made his move, all the soldiers of the imperial court collapsed to the ground. They were afflicted with diseases, and no one was able to approach him. In the end, the imperial court had no choice but to give up on the idea of bringing him to the capital. Then, this person took root here and established the Valley of Medicine Masters. Unfortunately, no one else was able to master both the Book of Poison and the pharmacology after him. Medicine King Valley was also divided into two gates, the Yin Gate and the Yang Gate. The two gates did not interfere with each other. However, the Medicine King Valley was still a land of peach blossoms, and outsiders were forbidden from entering. Their only contact with the outside world was through this Medicine King Village. The townspeople of Medicine King Village made a living by growing medicinal herbs. Their medicinal herbs were of good quality and there was no need to worry about sales. Therefore, the townspeople lived a relatively comfortable life. However, other than pharmacists, they did not welcome outsiders. The car stopped outside the town gate because the gate was blocked by a barricade. Two townspeople in uniform who looked like policemen were sitting in the guard tower next to them. Which company? A policeman with a cigarette in his mouth asked the man sitting in the passenger seat. One of Murong-Ying's local economic advisors was sitting in the passenger seat of Alpha. He immediately took out a business card and handed it to the policeman. Brilliant Pharmaceuticals. This was the first time he had heard of it. Where's the pass? The policeman spread out his right hand. The economic advisor was also a smart person, so he immediately said, "This is our company's first time here. We heard that there are medicinal herbs here, so we came to inspect. Don't you need your village chief to issue the pass? How can I issue it if I don't see him? You can't enter without a pass." The policeman waved his hand and directly rejected them. "Boss, what should we do? They won't let us in." The economic advisor turned to Murong-Ying and said, "Don't invest more than 10 billion here. I'll help you find another place to produce medicine to set up a pharmaceutical company. Hey, even if you guys invest 100 billion, it won't work." The policeman sneers, "The rules of our Medicine King Village are dead. Without a pass, no one is allowed to enter. What should we do?" The economic advisor was at his wits' end this time. Li Fan opened the door and got out of the car. "Where does your village chief live?" Li Fan walked up enthusiastically and asked. "You can't get in no matter where he lives." The policeman rolled his eyes. It seemed like he didn't even want to point the way. But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly moved behind him with a black shadow and knocked on his neck. The policeman immediately fainted. The other policeman in the watchtower directly reached for the pistol on his waist. But Li Fan reached out and grabbed his head. With a twist of his tiger claw, the policeman directly fainted. Amitabha. Sinful, sinful. Pewdie clasped his hands together. "This little monk is a monk. I can't bear to see this bloody scene. Damn, you Wainan meat monk, why are you pretending to be stupid?" Li Fan returned to the car, tidied up his clothes and said, "Let's go and find the way to Medicine King Valley. Let's get off the car. We'll walk." Muronging reminded them, this village is not big. 2 cars is too conspicuous. Okay, let's walk. Li Fan thought that the 5 of them wouldn't attract too much attention. But the gold and silver swordsman with 2 swords on his back had a black face as if someone owed him millions. Not to mention that flowery monk Pewdie. Black suit, bald head, with a code on the back of his head, he looked like a killer 47. Plus, a beauty like Muronging seemed to be more high profile than driving. Forget it. Since they were already here, they might as well make the best of it. They have not seen Medicine King Valley yet. How could they be stumped by a small Medicine King village? The few of them got off the car and walked into Medicine King Village. The village was indeed not big. The inside of the village exuded a strong medicinal fragrance. Even though it was freezing cold outside, Medicine King Valley was originally located in a place suitable for all 4 seasons. At this moment, the sun was shining brightly and everything was green. Amitba. Living in this place, one can definitely live a long life. Pewdie seemed to like the environment here. Li Fan reminded him. Master Pewdie, you are a monk. Is longevity really that important? Li Fan glanced sideways at him, while Subhoodie clasped his hands together and gave a very reasonable explanation. This little monk came to the mortal world to enlighten the people. To be able to live for 2 more years and enlighten more people is better than this little monk transcending early. As the saying goes, if I don't go to hell, who will? Damn. This was the first time Li Fan saw a person who talked nonsense with a straight face. He and Yen Kai could make a pair. One was pretentious, the other was a tiger in a tiger's skin. The entrance to Medicine King Valley is a bewitching array. Muronging stood in the village and looked around. Look, where do you think it looks like the entrance to Medicine King Valley? Isn't that simple? Li Fan laughed. Just grab someone and ask. We walked for a long time and didn't see a single person. Ask who? It's okay. They are coming. Li Fan said and looked back. There were 7 or 8 villagers, carrying hoes and shovels in their hands. They walked over aggressively. Who dares to cause trouble in the village? Arrest them. These villagers were very angry. The people of Medicine King Village were very xenophobic. Everyone, please don't be angry. Muronging cupped her hands at them. I am Muronging, the leader of Wulin. I came to Medicine King Valley to pay a visit. Bah, you woman. You look pretty but your words are so unreliable. Ridiculous. Even if the leader came, without a pass, he can't enter our village. These villagers had the same opinion. They didn't care what Muronging said. If they couldn't enter, they wouldn't let them in. Do you want me to help you deal with them? Li Fan asked. No need, gold and silver swordsman. With Murongying's order, the gold and silver swordsman immediately stretched out his finger. The sword on his back was unsheathed and jumped into the air. Just don't take their lives. Muronging said. The 2 of them understood and used their true chi to control their swords and attacked the villagers. The 2 swords only used the hilt to knock on the villagers' temples. It was neither light nor heavy and directly knocked them out. Chapter 477. The gold and silver swordsman's movements were clean and efficient. Soon, these villagers were knocked unconscious, leaving only one person, who was captured by the gold swordsman and thrown in front of Muronging. That villager's face was filled with fear. He tightly grasped the shovel in his hand and looked at Muronging. I have no intention of harming your lives. Muronging explained in a friendly manner, as long as you tell me where the Medicine King Valley is, it will be fine. That villager's face suddenly changed. The shovel in his hand aimed at Murongying's beautiful face and fiercely slammed down. Muronging did not move. She only sighed. And flowery monk Beauty was standing in front of her. He used his forehead to block the shovel. Dang! Bam! The shovel slammed into his head. The wooden pole immediately broke. The shovel head flew out and smashed to the side. And Beauty stood there with his hands clasped together like an old monk in meditation. He was completely fine. This guy. His body is almost made of iron. Li Fan could not help but think. Monster. The villager was frightened. Obviously, he had never seen a guy who was invulnerable. Benefactor, may I ask where the Medicine King Valley is? Beauty's face was kind. Li Fan felt that this guy was asking, Benefactor, where do you go to the Western Paradise? In terms of temper, this guy was definitely comparable to Tang Sing. It was just that his degree of lust was something that Tang Sing could not catch up to. If Benefactor is unhappy, you can hit this little monk again. Beauty continued, when Benefactor is happy, you can tell this little monk. This little monk will wait for you. That villager was speechless. He suddenly pulled out a small dagger from his bosom and fiercely stabbed Beauty's stomach. Dang! This dagger stabbed Beauty's stomach. Beauty was fine, but the dagger was bent. The villager felt like peeing in his pants. Beauty continued to ask patiently. Benefactor, are you feeling better? Get out of my way. Li Fan pushed Subhoodie away. It would be a miracle if this bastard could get anything out of him. Li Fan picked up the villager. His fiancée had been poisoned, but this bunch of people were still busy being xenophobic. Right now, he really couldn't be polite. You don't want to talk. Looks like it's useless even if you keep your tongue. Li Fan pinched the villager's chin and pulled out his tongue. I'll help you throw him away. The villagers were both shocked and in pain. They hurriedly let out strange cries. Amitba. This is too cruel, Subhoodie couldn't bear to do this. He closed his eyes. Li Fan, give him a chance. Muronging patted Li Fan's shoulder and began to sing a duet with him. If he doesn't talk, it won't be too late for you to pull out his tongue. All right. Li Fan loosened his grip, and the villager turned pale with fright. He quickly pointed to a small forest in the distance. After crossing that forest, we'll be there, you've saved your life. Li Fan continued to hold the villager, for now. The five of them brought the villager to the vicinity of the small forest. In this small forest, there was a winding path that led to an unknown place. Heroes, from here, walk forward for 500 meters. You'll almost reach the entrance of Medicine King Valley. The villager continued to point the way for them. I'm just a farmer, please let me go, no one wants to kill you. Li Fan rolled his eyes. Do what you need to do. Next time you see outsiders, don't shout to kill them. Medicine King Valley's herbs are extremely precious. In the past, there were always people who came to steal them. The villager tried to explain. That's why we're so xenophobic. Seeing outsiders is no different than seeing thieves. If this goes on, the village will be finished sooner or later. Li Fan reminded them. You might as well directly hire some experts from Medicine King Valley, or hire some external experts to protect you. You earn so much money, yet you're still so stingy. If thieves don't patronize you, who would they patronize? The villager was speechless. Then, he was abandoned by Li Fan. Muronging and the others followed the winding path, looking for Medicine King Valley. Medicine King Valley should be a valley. From the mountainside of this small forest, they should be able to see it. But before entering the small forest, Muronging let the gold and silver swordsman take out a rope. Everyone tie this rope to your body. This way, in the soul confusion array, you can look out for each other. The gold and silver swordsman distributed the rope. There was a total of one, divided it into several sections, and tied it to their body. These ropes tied 5 people. This way, after entering the soul confusion array, it should be better. In front of them was a thick fog. They didn't know whether it was a natural fog or man-made fog. Li Fan used to read the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. In the water margin, it often said that there would be some Taoist priests who would make fog or something. But in reality, there shouldn't be such people. Everyone be careful. This fog is unusual. Muronging reminded them. Be careful. Got it. Li Fan took out his phone and used satellite positioning. In the end, he found that he couldn't receive any signal here. It seemed that using the phone to locate them wouldn't work. If he had known earlier, he would have asked Ling Tian for a GPS. But his GPS always had problems. Forget it. Li Fan was thinking, but when he looked up, he found that the surrounding people had disappeared. And the rope on his waist, he didn't know when it broke. Damn, what's going on? Li Fan was a little crazy. He quickly raised his voice and shouted twice. Muronging. Flowery monk. Li Fan shouted several times. Each shout was filled with true energy, almost piercing through the clouds. But the surrounding was still quiet. It was as if the fog had squeezed into his ears, blocking the surrounding sounds. Li Fan's hair stood on end. Fuck, was it really that weird? He stood in this fog, momentarily lost. There was not a single sound around. Li Fan couldn't even hear his own footsteps. What kind of ghost fog is this? It actually has such an effect. Li Fan was a little uncertain. He had never encountered such a situation before. Everything in front of him seemed to be vaguely unreal. Some kind of oppressive feeling assaulted him. This feeling was very uncomfortable, making Li Fan a little nauseous. Li Fan followed the road in front and kept moving forward. He walked for a full half an hour, but he still couldn't see any direction. The surrounding was still filled with fog, as if there was no end. Li Fan had an illusion that he seemed to have stepped into death, being dragged by death into this endless place. If this goes on, I'm afraid I'll starve to death here. Li Fan simply sat down and began to think of a way to solve this so-called bewitching array. But at this moment, Li Fan vaguely saw that in the thick fog in front of him, there seemed to be a huge Buddha statue. Chapter 478. Buddha statue. Li Fan was a little surprised. How could there be a Buddha statue in a place like this? A series of chanting Buddhist scriptures appeared beside Li Fan's ears. Who was chanting Buddha? Right. It was the flowery monk Subhuti. But where was he chanting? Why was this voice right beside his ears? Li Fan suddenly understood something. He closed his eyes, and then suddenly opened them. He was still standing in the fog, and the rope around his waist was not broken. He could vaguely see the figures of the other 4 people. Subhuti stood there with his hands clasped together, chanting Buddhist scriptures. It was as if the surrounding white fog did not affect him at all. Li Fan also guessed that it was this ghost fog that could cause people to hallucinate. The moment they breathed in the white fog, they were all poisoned. Even the gold and silver swordsmen would not be detoxified without 3 days. But this flowery monk Subhuti completely ignored the poisonous fog. Could it be that this invincible golden body was not afraid of poison? Invincible golden body, invulnerable to all evils. But other than him, the other 3 did not seem to have woken up. Especially Muronging. She had lost her internal energy. It would be difficult for her to wake up from this fog. Amitba, benefactorly, you are finally awake. Subhoodie seemed to be relieved. This little monk has chanted the Diamond Sutra for almost an hour, and benefactorly has finally woken up. What kind of fog is this? Seeing that the other three had not woken up, Li Fan knew that with Subhoodie's chanting alone, he would not be able to wake the three of them. This Medicine King Valley is indeed strange. They even set up a poison array at the entrance. Li Fan smiled. This bunch of people are looking down on me, the little tyrant. Of course, there is also your contribution. Amitabha, this little monk is only helping the people of the world. Subhoodie said indifferently, everything is due to the great wisdom of Buddha. Alright, time to disperse the fog. As Li Fan spoke, he took 2 steps back and stood outside the fog. Then, he took a horse stance and folded his hands around his waist. Behind Li Fan, a huge dragon toad slowly appeared. Golden toad spitting pearls. Li Fan pushed his hands forward. The dragon toad opened its huge mouth and spat out a huge wave. A powerful palm wind swept out from Li Fan's body, directly blowing away the huge white fog in front of him. Subhoodie was stunned for a moment. Clearly, he hadn't expected Li Fan to have such a method. Amitabha. Amitabha, he seemed rather speechless and could only chant the Buddhist scriptures twice. A huge valley appeared in front of them. The valley was covered in a thin layer of mist. There were many houses in the valley where the people who lived in the Medicine King Valley lived. Due to the white mist dispersing, Murong and the gold and silver swordsman slowly woke up. Were there ghosts in the fog just now? Murong was smart. She knew what was going on the moment she woke up. The gold and silver swordsman stood at the side, feeling rather ashamed. Clearly, he resented himself for not being able to protect his master. Since we're already here, we might as well go in and greet them. Li Fan stretched his body and casually asked, we should be considered guests, right? Of course, and we're honored guests. Murong was also somewhat dissatisfied. Obviously, the dignified martial arts alliance leader was actually played by this inexplicable white fog. This really made her angry. Dang! 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 In the valley at the foot of the mountain, the sound of a bell rang. Looks like they're also here to welcome guests. Li Fan clenched his fist. He was also extremely angry. This trip to the Valley of the Medicine Masters was really exhausting. Hurry up and get the antidote, then leave this damn place. Medicine King Valley was still very deep. The 5 people walked to the edge. There was a large lift here, but the lift was at the bottom. If the people of Medicine King Valley did not lift the lift, normal people would not be able to go down. You guys wait here for a moment. Li Fan looked at the 1,000-meter-high valley floor. I'll be right back. Amitabha, this 1,000-meter deep valley, no matter how good almsgiver Li's Qigong is, it will inevitably be dangerous. Subhoodie spoke first. Why not leave it to this little monk? With that, without giving Li Fan and the others time to refuse, Subhoodie directly jumped down from the 1,000-meter deep sky. Damn, this brother doesn't know any Qigong at all. Li Fan was shocked. Was this flowery monk looking for death? While Subhoodie's body was in midair, in the process of falling, he curled up into a ball, like a ball. Boom! The earth trembled violently. Subhoodie directly smashed a huge pit in the ground. It was like a meteorite falling from the sky. This terrifying destructive power. That flowery monk, was he still alive? Subhoodie stretched his muscles and slowly stood up from the deep pit. He opened his mouth and apologized to the dumbfounded Medicine King Valley disciple beside him. Amitabha, I'm really sorry, I scared almsgiver. Damn it. The Medicine King Valley disciple pulled out a large knife and fiercely slashed at Subhoodie's neck. Dang! Subhoodie's neck did not move at all, but the knife's edge was bent. What the hell? The Medicine King Valley disciple was stunned, looking at the bent knife in shock. Amitba. Playing with knives and spears can hurt people. Subhoodie said, reaching out his hand, grabbed the knife's edge, and directly bent it. Eat my poison. The disciple had no choice but to take out a small cloth bag from his waist and let it fall. His level seemed to be very low, so he could only use the most primitive method to set up the poison fog. The green poison fog spread out. Subhoodie put his hands together and stood in the fog, motionless. Damn, just one breath of this poison fog and your blood will stop flowing. 2 breaths and your blood will reverse. 3 breaths and your blood vessels will burst. Even an elephant will die from just 1 breath. The Medicine King Valley disciple said fiercely. Subhoodie, however, let out a sigh. Amitba. Almsgiver's murderous aura is so heavy, fuck. The Medicine King Valley disciple almost peed his pants. Why wasn't he dead? This was too damn strange. This poison was very powerful. Even an elephant would be poisoned to death, much less a monk. It would be bad if this poison fog harmed the flowers and plants. Subhoodie said, inhaling all the poison fog into his lungs in 1 breath. Seeing this scene, the Medicine King Valley disciple completely collapsed. Almsgiver, if possible, please retreat. Subhoodie said, it will be very dangerous here. There is a very scary person coming down from above. Monster. Save me. The Medicine King Valley disciple was so frightened that he turned and ran. Subhoodie nodded in satisfaction. He walked to the side of the elevator, glanced at the elevator, and was a little dumbfounded. A sound wave reached Li Fan's ears. Almsgiver Li, this elevator, how do I use it? Chapter 479. Li Fan descended from the sky. His body stomped continuously in the air. Finally, he spun in the air and landed firmly on the ground. Li Fan landed without a sound. He was fundamentally different from Bodhi, who had caused a huge commotion. Bodhi seemed to be in a daze. He did not expect Li Fan's qigong to be so elegant. Almsgiver Li is indeed extraordinary. Fuck, you have the nerve to talk about others. Looking at the huge crater on the ground, Li Fan felt incredulous. This guy, is his body made of steel? Invincible golden body, this is too heaven-defying. Li Fan was tempted. Although this martial monk was a bit lecherous, if he could rope him into the escort agency, it would be beneficial to the agency's business. This lecherous monk must be annoyed to death by the Shaolin Temple, otherwise, they would not have sent him to Muronging as if he was a gift. Bodhi, how are you doing in the Shaolin Temple? Li Fan continued to lower and lower the elevator while asking Subhoodie, who was standing next to him. Not bad. Bodhi was slightly disappointed. But the food in the Shaolin Temple is too bland, and there are too few female benefactors. Occasionally, 1 or 2 female benefactors who need to be enlightened come, but my senior and junior brothers keep a close eye on me and don't give me the chance to enlighten them and become a Buddha. Li Fan blushed with shame. Then why don't you follow me? Li Fan began to spread the bait. I have a brother who knows many female benefactors who need to be enlightened. Really? Bodhi's eyes brightened. Yes. Don't judge me by my looks. I also have the heart to enlighten people. Li Fan pointed at himself and laughed. But I don't have the ability to enlighten people. Bodhi is better at this than I am. Amitba. This little monk only knows a little about Buddhism. Bodhi was a little shy. Then you can come with me later. Li Fan began his plan to become a human trafficker. Judging from the look on Subhoodie's face, it seemed as though he was tempted as well. Then I'll listen to Benefactor Li's arrangements. What about the Shaolin Temple, won't they let you go back? The host said that I should go down the mountain to train, but I can't use Shaolin Temple's name when I go out to train. Li Fan understood what Subhoodie's explanation meant. This old monk had kicked his disciple out of the door. Why don't you let him go out and smear Shaolin's name? For a monk like Subhoodie who drank and ate meat, to let him stay in Shaolin Temple would indeed only cause headaches for the monks in the temple. Alright, you can stay by my side from now on. I guarantee that you'll have a girl to sleep with. Ba. It's benefactor expiation. Don't be mistaken. Yes, yes, yes. Expiate. It's expiation. Li Fan laughed. It's my fault, my fault. I won't say it again. He cursed inwardly. Fuck, this darn monk sure has a good reputation. In the legends, the one who had to erect a chastity memorial after becoming a prostitute was probably the one in front of him. After the lift rose up, it finally descended. Murong and the gold and silver swordsman walked out at the same time. We're finally here. Murong looked at the small town in the valley in front of her and said softly, let's have a talk with the young sect master. Do you think they'll welcome us warmly? Li Fan looked at the Medicine King Valley in front of him and asked subconsciously. They'll definitely welcome us, but it's hard to say if they'll be warm or not. As Murong spoke, she led the way into the depths of the Medicine King Valley. Li Fan shrugged and followed behind his fiancée. This woman was still so bold even though she had lost her internal energy. Stop. If you take another step forward, you'll be killed without mercy. A voice blew in everyone's face like a gust of wind. The voice sounded old, like an old lady's. There was no one around, but no one knew where the voice came from. I'm Murong. Murong said loudly, ask your sect master to speak. Murong, I don't know you. The voice was still cold, hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, I'll use poison to melt your bones. What a big tone. Murong couldn't help but laugh, I want to see what kind of poison it is. As she spoke, Murong took out the poison-repelling pearl that Li Fan had just given her and put it under her tongue. Li Fan had already sealed his chi door with true chi to prevent the invisible poisonous fog from invading. Putoa was invulnerable, and the gold and silver swordsman had a natural immunity to poison. Now the five of them were the bane of poisons in their professions. The people of Medicine King Valley, if you don't come out, I won't be polite. Li Fan was very unhappy. The people of Medicine King Valley were too arrogant. Ridiculous. I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me? The voice became even sharper, stimulating Li Fan's eardrums. This old woman seemed angry, but Li Fan pointed to the tower next to him. Little Gold, come with your sword. Little Gold naturally referred to the gold and silver swordsman. He didn't listen to Li Fan's words, but looked at his master. Murong nodded and pointed. The golden sword on his back was unsheathed and instantly shot toward the tower in the distance. A petite figure immediately fell from the tower, fell to the ground, holding her buttocks and groaning. She looked to be about 12 years old. She was still a child. Pretending to be an old woman to talk to us, isn't it a bit childish? Li Fan squatted on the ground, smiling at this little girl. Humph. This little girl snorted and unhappily stared at Li Fan. I'm not a little girl. I'm already 29 years old. I'm the current leader of Een Gate. Li Fan was taken aback. This girl is the leader. You must be joking. Seeing Li Fan's eyes, the little girl quickly emphasized, I'm not lying to you. I'm really the leader of Een Gate. Then let me ask you, do you know Song Fuya? Her. That's our Medicine King Valley's traitor. The little loli immediately clenched her teeth, she's as hateful as you intruders. Humph, now that you know I'm the leader, you better kneel down and pay your respects. Otherwise I'll poison you all to death. Ha! Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. The beauty standing behind me is called Murong, the current leader of Wulin. I don't even kneel when I see her. Why should I kneel when I see a little leader like you? Leader of Wulin. Her. I don't believe she doesn't have any internal strength. The little loli curled her lips. I don't have internal strength, it's all because of your Medicine King Valley. Murong sneered, Song Fuya, this debt is on you, right? Oh. The little loli patted her clothes, stood up and looked at Murong. So you're saying, you're poisoned by Indra? Indra. Everyone looked at each other. This was the first time they heard this name. Chapter 480. Indra, what the hell is that thing? Li Fan picked up the little loli and asked. Bastard, I'm not telling you. The little loli struggled desperately. I am the Yin sect master of the Medicine King Valley. You can't treat me like this. Li Fan laughed, you can't beat me anyway, I can do whatever I want to you. I'm going to use poison to kill you. Try it. Li Fan disagreed, let's see if your poison has any effect on me. Right, let's try that Indra, how about it? Indra is the unique poison of that traitor Song Fuya. The little loli said unhappily, although I don't want to admit it, that traitor still has a bit of talent. I've studied Indra for so long, but I still can't crack it. Then you can't either. Li Fan curled his lips, is there no one else in your Yin sect, so you are the sect master? Bullshit. You stupid thing. I am a genius at refining poison. However, Indra is a poison that was accidentally formed from some messy things. It is even more powerful than the cultivation dissipation powder. Then you still can't figure it out. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders at Murong. It seems that this little girl can't do it. Who can't do it? When the little loli heard this, she was immediately unhappy. This was a matter of self-esteem. Self-esteem. The Yin sect master is unworthy of his name. With how smart Murong was, she naturally knew Li Fan's calculations. She also sighed, let's go, we've come here for nothing. You bastards. Who said you can't do it? The little loli hurriedly shouted, I am the Yin sect master. I seem to be the greatest expert in refining poison. Then do you have a way to deal with Indra? Li Fan took the opportunity to ask. Of course there is a way. The little loli snorted, I have some friendship with a disciple of the Yang sect. If you ask him, he can detoxify your wife. In the end, we still have to ask others for help. Li Fan curled his lips. What do you know? Since ancient times, the Yin sect and the Yang sect each had their own specializations. I can use 100 ways to poison him, but I don't know how to cure any of them. If you want to detoxify it, only the pharmacology of the Yang school can do it. Your Medicine King's Valley sure is a strange place. Li Fan couldn't help but complain, then can you take us to meet that Yang sect brother? I won't. The little loli curled her lips, you guys don't respect me at all and even come to my Medicine King's Valley to cause trouble. What's wrong with me? I need to detoxify all of you. Swoosh. 2 treasured swords, 1 gold and 1 silver, suddenly stopped on either side of the little loli's face. The 2 swords carried a fatal power, and the cold light made the little loli shudder. Dang dang. But Li Fan flicked the 2 swords away and then said in dissatisfaction, you 2 actually made a move on a little girl, too inconsiderate. The gold and silver swordsman's face was filled with black lines, this Li Fan. Why is he always so unpredictable? Say it, what do you want to help us? Li Fan put the little loli back on the ground and asked. I won't let you do it for free, say it. one thing for one thing. The little loli thought for a moment, that seems to be a good idea, then I promise you. Muronging and the others looked at each other, agreeing just like that. This little loli's character is quite strange. I want you to help me kill a person. The little loli raised a finger. Kill a person. Li Fan raised his eyebrows. Kill who? Song Fuya. When the little loli mentioned this name, she gritted her teeth, as a traitor of Medicine King's Valley. I want her to pay the price. Okay, I promise you. Li Fan was secretly delighted. Isn't this exactly what I wanted? This woman Song Fuya, not only did she poison my fiancé, she also played me. Even if the little loli didn't ask, I won't let Song Fuya have it easy. You are a man can't go back on his words, right? The little loli asked. Yes, I swear. Li Fan held up 3 fingers, and the little loli nodded in satisfaction. She stood there with her hands behind her back, speaking like an old man, giving off a feeling of a child growing up. Li Fan found it hard to imagine that this little girl was actually 29 years old. You are still a sect master. If you want to kill someone, why don't you just kill her yourself? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Humph, we are not ordinary disciples of Medicine King's Valley. The little loli explained, the sect masters of the Yin and Yang sect are the roots of Medicine King's Valley. No matter which generation, the sect master has a rule that no one is allowed to leave Medicine King's Valley. And that Song Fuya, she betrayed the tradition of Medicine King's Valley. So what awaits her is only the death penalty. You guys, come with me. The little loli walked in the direction of the valley with her hands behind her back. Little loli, can you reveal something? Li Fan couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Why do you look like a child? Hey, your words are very hurtful to my self-esteem. The little loli looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. Also, I have a name, my name is Xiong Zitong, you can just call me Sect Master Xiong. That's quite a big style. Of course. The little loli said proudly, do you think that just anyone can be the sect master of the Yin sect? She continued, when I was about 12 years old, I inhaled a strange poison that spread throughout my body. She looked at her wrist, there was a red blood mark on it, like a birthmark. This poison has spoiled my growth, causing me to remain in this state. How good, you'll be young forever. If it were me, I would want it too. Li Fan laughed, but the little loli rolled her eyes. Good my ass, this poison shortened my life, I won't live to 60. Well, then I don't want it. Li Fan hurriedly waved his hand, that's why beauty comes with a price. This is it. The little loli stopped in front of a very long road. This is the Yangguan Road, the place that leads to the Yang Gate. Li Fan took a look. This Yang Gate seemed to be a good place. The entire place was sunny and beautiful. It was really like a paradise. I can only go this far. The little loli stopped in front of the Yangguan Road and stood there, not moving. Why? If you don't take us in, how will we know who to look for? Take this. The little loli took out a token with the word Yin written on it from her sleeve and handed it to Li Fan. Take this and tell them to look for Luo Xiaofeng, they will help you find him. As for me, the disciples of the Yin Gate are not allowed to enter the Yangguan Road, and the disciples of the Yang Gate are not allowed to enter the Bridge of Helplessness. This is the rule. You really like to follow the rules. Chapter 481. Of course, nothing can be accomplished without rules. Little Lolita clasped her hands behind her back and said seriously, anyway, I've already taught you the method, what happens next is up to you. With that, little Lolita turned and left, ignoring Li Fan and the others. Let's go. Muroning was a very straightforward person, she directly set foot on this clean and tidy Yangguan Road. Yangguan Road, Bridge of Helplessness. Li Fan said that the people of Medicine King Valley were really good at naming, coming up with these two names. Step on Yangguan Road, straight to the 9 heavens. On Yangguan Road, there was such a sign erected. That's quite a big mouth. Muronging seemed to be laughing at him. Tomorrow, put up a sign in front of my escort agency. Li Fan immediately applied what he had learned, right, walk on Yangguan Road, cross the Bridge of Helplessness. You're even more arrogant. Muronging rolled her eyes at Li Fan, be careful that someone comes to challenge your agency. You're very welcome. Li Fan gently clapped his hands. Sooner or later, you'll suffer. Muronging ridiculed Li Fan. How can one not be stabbed in the pugilistic world? Li Fan had already gotten over it. I'm not the type to swallow my anger. And even if I do, those people will only think that I'm easy to bully, and then they'll make trouble for me even more. Truly worthy of the title, Little Overlord. Muronging nodded, all right, then let's increase your strength. The group walked all the way through Yangguan Road, facing a small house. Each house had its own chimney, smoke curling up. It seems that the pharmacists of Yang's sect are busy refining medicine. Muronging said, still looking around, as if trying to find where Luo Xiaofeng was. And beside Li Fan, there was a small pendulum clock. Subhoodie glanced at them, then stepped forward and pulled the pendulum clock. The pendulum clock let out a crisp sound, attracting the attention of a crippled old man. Leaning on his walking stick, he walked over step by step and sized up Li Fan and the others. Who let you in? The old man asked bluntly. Li Fan took out the token directly. The old man glanced at it and was a little surprised. Oh. Then what are you doing here? We're looking for Luo Xiaofeng. Li Fan went straight to the point. Where does he live? The old man pointed to a house for them. But it's hard to say if you'll be able to meet him. He's not a ghost. There's nothing he can't see. Li Fan found it very strange. Why were the people of Medicine King Valley so strange? Bang! Just as Li Fan was puzzled, the house that the old man had pointed at suddenly exploded. Black smoke billowed out. Li Fan was a little dumbfounded. What the fuck was going on? Was there a bomb? While Li Fan was surprised, the old man was very calm. Again, he's lucky to be alive until now. The old man sighed, you guys deal with it yourselves. With that, the old man turned and walked away, not wanting to stay for another minute. Li Fan and Muronging looked at each other, both a little dazed. It seemed like the medicine request was getting more and more difficult. A man in his 20s, disheveled clothes and messy hair, came crashing out of the smoking room. He knelt on the ground and coughed violently. His house started to burn, and if this continued, he was afraid that the house would be burnt to ashes. Li Fan took a step forward and struck out with his palm. The powerful palm wind blew out the flames on the house. The young man was stunned for a moment, then his eyes fell on Li Fan and Muronging. Who are you? It doesn't matter who we are. We're just here to ask for the antidote. Li Fan said and once again flashed the token that the little lowly gave him, help my fiancé cure Indra. Can you do it? Poisoned by Indra. This sloppy young man's face was blackened by the smoke. Hearing Li Fan's words, he ran over excitedly and pounced on Muronging. What? Li Fan pressed his hand on the young man's head to prevent him from getting too close to Muronging. This is the first time I've seen someone poisoned by Indra. Let me check. Traditional Chinese medicine can only be diagnosed by listening, questioning, and palpation. Can't you just look a few times? Li Fan was very unhappy. He always felt that this Luo Xiaofeng was like a hungry wolf. What can you see just by looking? This Indra is invisible and colorless. It's only effective on internal energy. At the very least, let me check your pulse. Alright, Li Fan, don't be so stingy. Muronging pulled Li Fan away. I'll have to trouble you. Muronging handed over her wrist. Luo Xiaofeng looked at Li Fan worriedly and anxiously placed his finger on Murongying's wrist. He felt the beating of Murongying's pulse. Luo Xiaofeng's eyebrows slightly wrinkled together. How long has this Indra been poisoned for? About half a month or so. Murongying recalled the time, but Luo Xiaofeng kept shaking his head. What do you mean? Is your neck cramping? Li Fan was a little worried. Could it be that Murongying had a terminal illness? The medicine that I refined can indeed cure her poison. Luo Xiaofeng said, it's just that she has been poisoned for too long. The poison in her body is deeply rooted. Even if I cure her Indra, the true qi in her body will not be able to recover. Why? It's like a spring has dried up. The dantian in this heroine's body has already withered. Although Murongying did not say anything, but from her expression, it could be seen that she was absolutely not happy at this moment. It was not easy for her to become the martial arts alliance master. Murongying was so proud that she could not accept this kind of result. The key point was that Murongying did not become like this because she was defeated in a martial arts competition. Instead, it was because she was poisoned. To her, this was simply more painful than death. Li Fan immediately asked, other than this, is there no other way? As long as I simultaneously cure this heroine's dantian, it will be fine. Luo Xiaofeng said, however, this is impossible to do. Who said so? Li Fan was full of confidence, leave it to me. You can immediately cure her. Amitba. Benefactor Li, are you confident? Subhuti could not help but be a little worried. This Indra is a strange poison. If it is not handled properly, Benefactor Murong may be able to ascend to heaven. Wife, do you believe in me? Li Fan did not answer Subhuti. Instead, he turned to ask Murongying. What are you afraid of? Just do it. Murongying's imposing manner was incomparable. She said straightforwardly, Li Fan, whatever methods you have, use them all. It's not like I'm going to kill you. Li Fan was very speechless. He turned to Luo Xiaofeng and said, Pharmacist Luo, shall we begin? Chapter 482. Li Fan and Murongying both sat on Luo Xiaofeng's bed. Rather than a bed, it was more like a hard wooden board. Moreover, the surface was burnt black and looked very shabby. Those who didn't know would think that this was a slum. There was also a big alchemy furnace next to it, which was probably the alchemy furnace that Luo Xiaofeng used for work. The alchemists of Medicine King Valley, in addition to their excellent medical skills, loved to do the most was alchemy. It could be said that alchemy was their destiny. They spent their entire lives in order to refine the best pills. Every alchemist's biggest dream was to refine the legendary 7-star pill. This 7-star pill was a kind of medicine recorded in the legends. If one could eat one, it could increase one's lifespan by 60 years. But this 7-star pill only appeared in the legends. For hundreds of years, countless alchemists of Medicine King Valley had been working hard to develop this legendary longevity pill. But at this moment, Luo Xiaofeng was holding another pill and handed it to Li Fan. After eating it, the medicine will take effect. Luo Xiaofeng told Li Fan, within a minute, no matter what you do, you must do it. Otherwise, when the medicine takes effect, this heroine will lose her internal strength forever. There was a hidden danger in this sentence. I understand. Li Fan nodded, while Luo Xiaofeng left the room. For the medicine to take effect, it needed to be in contact with the air. Therefore, Murongying couldn't wear any clothes. Among these people, only Li Fan, Murong Ying's fiancé, could see his wife's naked appearance. As Luo Xiaofeng left, Murong Ying slowly took off her clothes and sat in front of Li Fan. This was a perfect work meticulously created by God. No matter what, Li Fan was also a veteran who had seen countless movies, but looking at Murong Ying at this moment, his eyes couldn't help but stare blankly. Although he always knew that Murong Ying had a good figure, but now he could see it clearly. He couldn't help but admit that his fiancée's chest shape was perfect. It was so beautiful that no one could find a single flaw in it. Her skin was also very white and tender. She did not look like a martial artist who practiced martial arts all year round. Instead, she looked like a newborn baby. This should be related to the fact that Murong Ying usually paid attention to maintaining her body and nurturing her true qi. This was a perfect goddess, completely displayed in front of him. Li Fan didn't even dare to have too many thoughts, for fear of blaspheming this goddess. "Are you done?" Murong Ying suddenly said, "If you're done, then hurry up and start." "I know. My wife is so impatient." Li Fan adjusted his state of mind. Now was not the time to appreciate the beautiful scenery. He fed the pill to Murong Ying, and then placed a hand on her chest. It felt good to the touch. This pair of flawless breasts was definitely of the highest quality. However, now was not the time to savor the feeling of breasts. If she continued to feel it, Murong Ying's life would be ruined. There was still time to play in the future. There was no need to rush this moment. Li Fan suddenly entered the heaven-swallowing toad state. Following that, his dantian was activated. A powerful suction force exploded from his palm. Dragon toad absorption. Li Fan's strength exploded. His palm was like a black hole, instantly sucking in Murong Ying's dantian. If he only used his pure yang body to absorb Murong Ying's strength through his mouth, it would be difficult to achieve the desired effect. Because that method was too gentle. It would not achieve the effect that Li Fan wanted. Li Fan's hand fiercely pulled on Murong Ying's dried-up dantian, as if he wanted to pull this dantian out from Murong Ying's body. Bang! 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 The continuous explosions made Murong Ying frown deeply. She was enduring an extremely terrifying pain. Murong Ying did not know how painful it was to give birth, but at this moment, that kind of pain was not something that an ordinary person could endure. Murong Ying felt as if someone was tearing her dantian apart. Her body felt as if it was about to be torn into two halves. But the two of them were persevering. Li Fan's dragon toad absorption was unable to absorb true energy, which was very dangerous for him. But he still endured the pain of his dantian shattering as he exerted force on Murong Ying's dantian again and again. 10 more seconds. Li Fan silently calculated the time in his heart. Murong Ying. If you are the Martial Arts Alliance Master, then bring out the aura of the Martial Arts Alliance Master. Li Fan roared, and the dragon toad absorption in his hand was displayed to the extreme. Murong Ying finally let out a scream, and her body trembled heavily. Her breasts also trembled. Li Fan almost could not bear it. This kind of scene would definitely cause people to go crazy. Relying on his strong willpower, he endured it. Come out. Li Fan used all his strength to pull, and Murong Ying's dantian suddenly glowed with new life, and a stream of true energy was forcefully pulled out. But as if there was a reaction from her body, Murong Ying's lower body also sprayed out a crystal-clear stream of water, slapping Li Fan's face, directly causing him to be stunned. What was going on? Murong Ying herself was also blushing. She did not expect that the true energy that sprayed out from her dantian could also carry water. She subconsciously waved her hand, and Li Fan's body was wrapped in powerful true energy, and directly flew out, breaking through the wall, and fell outside. How is it? Luo Xiaofeng did not know what had happened. He hurried forward and asked Li Fan, who was lying on the ground. Dragon toad absorbs water. Li Fan lay there in a daze. It's really sucking out water. This trip to seek medicine was worth it. Brother Li, did you succeed or not? Why is your face wet? Ba, good indeed, good. Pewdie seemed to understand something, put his palms together and chanted. Li Fan secretly cursed, fuck, this perverted monk. I'm fine. Murongning wore a rose-colored cheongsam again, as if nothing had happened, and walked out of the room. She looked at Luo Xiaofeng and said, Master Luo, you are a talent. But staying in Medicine King Valley, you will never be able to break through. Why don't you go out and see the suffering of this world, and the various forms of life? Maybe it will be of help to you in refining medicine. Li Fan could not help but want to give a thumbs up. Fuck, she was his wife after all, even her ability to poach people was so strong. But I have never left Medicine King Valley. Luo Xiaofeng seemed to be a little hesitant, and Murongning threw another vicious medicine. In my hands, I have the Shenong cauldron. Ah! Luo Xiaofeng almost went crazy. The Shenong cauldron, this is a top-grade cauldron for refining pills. Legend has it that it was missing, but it was actually in the hands of this heroine. This heroine, who are you, and why do you have this divine cauldron? I am the leader of the martial arts world. Chapter 483. Murong Ying's words were mighty and domineering. But Li Fan felt that the reason why Luo Xiaofeng would follow them was because of the Shenong cauldron. He was not an alchemist and naturally did not know much about these things. But with Luo Xiaofeng, an alchemist by his side, at least his safety was guaranteed. The group left the Medicine King Valley. When they parted, the little lowly Xiong Zitong reminded Li Fan to remember the agreement between the two. Don't worry, I won't forget what I've said. Li Fan comforted the little lowly, and then they followed the Medicine King village and prepared to return. But when he saw the two cars parked in the Medicine King village, he was dumbfounded. The two cars were smashed into pieces, and the two drivers were gone. Only the economic advisor was left sitting there, bleeding from his head, and his clothes were torn. He looked like a hooligan in the old society, wearing only a pair of underpants, which made people's hearts ache. Li Fan's heart also ached. An alpha and a tyrannical were smashed into pieces just like that. These guys were too prodigal. Big miss, the economic advisor's arms were tied, and he sat there miserably. His nose was bleeding, and he was almost crying as he complained to Murongning. You're finally back. The economic advisor was crying with snot and tears. Murongning gave him a look, and the gold and silver swordsman quickly stepped forward and untied the rope on him. Who did this to you, the driver? Murongning asked. It's the villagers, those demon-like villagers. The economic advisor was scared witless, as if he had encountered the most terrible thing in his life. Don't worry. Murongning softly comforted, no matter what you encounter, I will help you. Murong-Ying's voice seemed to have some kind of magic, making the economic advisor's mood slowly calm down. Where are they? Murong-Ying asked. The reason why the economic advisor was left here must be to remind Li Fan and bring a message. They are in a small factory over there. Li Fan and the others looked in the direction of the economic advisor's hand. Sure enough, there was a small factory there. Looks like it's not a pharmaceutical factory. Li Fan rubbed his chin and looked at the factory. Of course, those villagers value their land very much. They won't pollute their own village with a pharmaceutical factory. Murongning finally knew what the villagers were like. But since they dared to touch my people, Murongning will not let them have it easy. My wife is mighty and domineering. Domineering your sister. Hurry up and save them. The two drivers are ordinary people. They can't handle such a scene. Murong was very concerned about the safety of her two drivers. There were not many bosses who cared about their subordinates like this. Gold and silver, go find a car. Murong instructed the gold and silver swordsman. The two nodded and left Li Fan's sight. You two, don't make a move when the time comes. When they walked to the front of the factory, Murong ordered Li Fan and Pewdie. What about me? Luo Xiaofeng carried a big medicine box and followed behind them. You just watch the fun. Li Fan patted his shoulder. My wife plans to handle it alone. After all, they are her subordinates. But you don't have much fighting power. Pay attention to your own safety. Don't look at me like this. In fact, I also practice martial arts. Luo Xiaofeng immediately said with dissatisfaction, I am different from ordinary pharmacists. I have the ability to protect myself. Don't make trouble. Who's making trouble? Luo Xiaofeng proved himself. He took out a few silver needles from a small bag. I know the most important acupuncture points. If I stab you, humph. Come, try to stab me. Li Fan stretched out his arm. Humph, you look down on me. You can't afford it. Luo Xiaofeng picked up the silver needles while Li Fan wrapped his arm with his true qi. Blocking a silver needle was a piece of cake for him. But this silver needle directly pierced through Li Fan's true qi and pricked an acupuncture point on his arm. Li Fan's arm immediately became numb, unable to move. Fuck. Li Fan was taken aback. An ordinary silver needle could actually ignore his true qi defense. Your mother. How did you do that? It's very simple. Even if it's true qi, there will be gaps and weak points. Luo Xiaofeng explained, it's the same as the human body. Even if it's a soft silver needle, it can pierce through the hard bone. Luo Xiaofeng's explanation made Li Fan unable to defend himself. Unexpectedly, his stubbornness in medicine created a terrible chemical reaction. Even if it's true qi, there will be weak points. Li Fan fell into deep thought. Of course, everything has a weakness. Luo Xiaofeng nodded and said confidently, there are no exceptions. You're good. But can you pull out this needle? Li Fan was afraid that he would accidentally pull out something wrong, so he could only ask Luo Xiaofeng. Let him stab it for a while. Without waiting for Luo Xiaofeng to speak, Murong had already given the order. Hey, I'm your husband. Do you want me to become a one-armed Yonghua? Li Fan snappily said. Humph, who asked you to be so arrogant before? Murong Ying's vengeance was quite strong. Last time when she was in prison, he took advantage of her. He still hadn't forgotten it. This girl really holds a grudge. Okay, I'll listen to the female boss. Luo Xiaofeng nodded without hesitation and firmly stood on Murong Ying's side. If you want to pull it out, beg me. Murong Ying said, just say, wife, I was wrong. Help me. Damn. Li Fan had no choice but to hang one of his arms first. Anyway, he wouldn't die. What was there to be afraid of? He absolutely couldn't bow to Murong Ying. He hung his arm and followed behind Murong Ying, entering the small factory together. There was a faint smell of medicine in the small factory. It seemed to be a light medicine processing plant. But there seemed to be no one in the factory. In the empty hall, there were only 4 people, including Murong Ying, Li Fan, and the others. However, all of this couldn't be hidden from Li Fan. He took out a mint from his pocket and stuffed it into his mouth, a total of 12 people, all experts. Amitba. It's 13 people. Pewdie added, "There's one person who hid very well. I didn't expect that after so many years, there would be people from the martial arts world visiting my village again." A somewhat old voice sounded in a corner on the second floor. Chapter 484. The lights in the small factory lit up and shone on the second floor. In the corner, a man in a wheelchair was slowly being pushed out. There was a long scar on the man's face. It ran from his left eye all the way to his right cheek and chin. It could be said to be a ghastly sight. He didn't seem to be young. He had a head of white hair and there were some ugly age spots on his skin. This old man wasn't alone. There were 12 people standing behind him. Each of them wore a devil mask on their faces. They looked extremely ferocious, as if they had really crawled out of hell. All of them stared fiercely at Muronging and the others. "You're not from Huaxia." Muronging looked at the nagging old man on the second floor and directly asked, "Where did you come from? Why did you touch my people?" "Girl. I'm really sorry. You can call me Old Mo," the old man said with a chuckle. "You'll like this name, because I like it very much. However, I definitely won't be polite to those who trespass into my village." "What did you do to the two of them?" Muronging had a bad premonition. The old man clapped his hands, and a ghost-masked man immediately threw out 2 people. The 2 of them had already fainted, but all the bones in their bodies were broken. "They trespassed into my village, so I punished them." The old man's smile looked as if he was crying. This smile, coupled with his face, was as scary as it could be. "Girl, the few of you will also receive the same punishment," the old man said very rudely. "It seems that you really don't know anything." Li Fan sighed, "Wife, I don't care anymore. You do it yourself." Muronging had said that he and Subhoodie were not to interfere. It just so happened that he also had an arm that he couldn't use, so he simply stood there and watched the show. Amitabha, Subhoodie chanted the name of Buddha. It was unknown if he was chanting it for Muronging or for the 13 unlucky ghosts. "These are the 12 evil spirits that I trained. Each of them has reached the peak of strength." The old man's face was full of confidence. "Any one of the 12 experts is enough to send you to heaven. Hiding in this Medicine King village, these 12 people are my last line of defense." Although he didn't know who this old man was, Li Fan felt that he might be in trouble today. Li Fan didn't interfere, but he was still curious. Before the 2 sides started fighting, Li Fan asked, "We're going to die today anyway. Why don't you let us die knowing? This little kid has some self-awareness." Old Mo nodded, "I appreciate smart people. What do you want to know? Ask away." Muronging understood Li Fan's intentions, so she didn't say anything. "Old mister, where are you from? Why did you choose to hide in this godforsaken Medicine King village?" "Me?" Old Mo's eyes seemed to be full of memories. Just now the girl said, "I'm not from Huaxia." He thought that since they were already dead, it would not hurt to talk to them about his own things. He had kept these things in his heart for so many years, so he had to tell them. He couldn't tell the living, but he could tell the dead. "I'm from Japan. My real name seems to be Ryuyamakoji." It seemed that it was too long ago that Old Mo forgot his original name. He murmured and continued, "I'm from Japan's Dongqinghui. At that time, we were defeated and everyone was retreating to our country. However, a group of men of sacrifice was left on the mainland to cultivate underground forces, waiting for the Mikado's army to set foot on this land again." Shit. Li Fan's heart skipped a beat. This old guy is actually a figure from World War II. This guy must be 70 or 80 years old. It seems that he ate a lot of exotic minerals and produce in the Medicine King village. This guy is really long-lived. This is the fledgling plan left by our Dongqing Hui. And many fledglings are left on the mainland, lurking among you. As long as these fledglings are here, the mainland will belong to us sooner or later. That's a good idea. The fascists have been destroyed long ago. Li Fan sneered, you're really good at choosing a place to daydream in this deep mountain forest. I think you're not young anymore. Why don't you bury yourself early? What do you think? Kid, you're too naive. Old Emo gently knocked the ground with his walking stick. We fledglings have grown into fully feathered eagles. How can your current martial fighters compare to the eagles? Really? Muronging had heard enough. She stepped forward and pointed at old Emo on the second floor with 2 fingers, then let me see how powerful your so-called eagles are. Well, the story is over. It's time for you to go to hell with my secret. Old Emo said and knocked the ground with his walking stick. A man with a ghost mask suddenly disappeared and then appeared behind Muronging in an instant with a dagger in his hand. It seemed that he was going to cut open Muronging's throat. Li Fan couldn't help exclaiming, what a powerful assassination skill. This old Emo has trained 12 great killers. 12 killers at the peak of perfection. Gee, when did the peak of perfection become so worthless? But Muronging put up 2 fingers and flicked on the dagger. Clang! The dagger was directly knocked off, and the sharp blade had curled. It could be seen how powerful the sword chi on Muronging's fingers was. I'm really sorry. I, Muronging, will take the heads of your 12 evil ghosts. As Muronging said, her 2 fingers had been poked into the temples of the man with a ghost mask. Puff! The sword chi burst out from the other side of the man's head and minced his head into pieces. When Muronging unleashed her power, not everyone would be able to stop her. Nanny. Old Emo said something rare in Japanese, while Muronging had jumped to the second floor with lightness skill. The rest of the evil ghosts were eager to protect their master, so they all rushed to Muronging. But Muronging was so powerful. She stepped on the railing of the second floor with her high heels, and her body was as steady as a mountain. Her 2 hands were like swords. Anyone who was half a meter away from her was beheaded by her without mercy. Baka! Old Emo knew that Muronging was not easy to deal with. He pointed at Li Fan and others with his walking stick. Catch those people and force her to give in. As soon as he finished his words, 2 men with ghost masks appeared in front of Li Fan. Beauty stood aside and didn't intend to take action at all. But Li Fan's face darkened. Damn, are you bullying the disabled? Chapter 485. Li Fan grabbed the face of a man with a ghost mask with his left hand. He used his tiger claws to break his mask and then his head. On the other side, the man with a ghost mask pulled out a small katana and stabbed at Li Fan's ribs. He was indeed a master at the peak of perfection, especially an assassin. His saber technique was very powerful. However, Li Fan just gave a muffled groan. The silver needle in his right arm immediately flew out and was nailed between the eyebrows of the man with a ghost mask. The man with a ghost mask fell to the ground and died. Neither of them could escape from Li Fan's hands alive. Li Fan had always been friendly to his international friends. But since they were here to make trouble, he would not be polite to them. You snatched my kill. Muronging complained unhappily. Fuck, miss, you have to collect the kill by yourself, okay? Humph, you also liked to snatch my kill when we were playing LOL in the past. Muronging recalled the past. You also snatched my kill in reality. You're a competitive man. Li Fan suddenly did not know how to defend himself. Meanwhile, Muronging had killed the rest of the men with ghost masks. Seeing the 12 men of sacrifice whom he had trained painstakingly die in the blink of an eye, old Mo's lips trembled. No, it's impossible. Old Mo could not believe his eyes. He stared at Muronging and asked, Who on earth are you? I'm Muronging, the chief of Wulin. Muronging directly told him her name. She stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at Old Mo. I can't pretend that I didn't hear what you said just now. Impossible. Old Mo did not believe it. How could the chief of Wulin be a little girl like you? Are you looking down on my age or my gender? Muronging raised her eyebrows slightly. Little girl. Don't brag. Go to hell. As Old Mo spoke, another figure suddenly flew out from his back. This figure was very ghostly, like a phantom. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Muronging. The figure had no hands. At the ends of its palms were 2 long swords. It slashed towards Muronging. He was so fast that even Muronging couldn't see him clearly. But for Muronging, she didn't need to see it clearly at all. Only the weakest martial artists needed to use their eyes to see. Muronging flicked the 2 swords away with 2 fingers. At the same time, Muronging lifted her leg and kicked the figure. Bang! This guy flew out, but as Old Mo pulled him back with both hands, he stabilized himself in the air. As the light shone on him, Muronging finally saw that he was not a human, but a puppet in disguise. The puppet seemed to be made in the shape of a woman. Between its legs, there was a sponge-like thing. Fuck, Li Fan saw everything clearly from below. This old fart took out his inflatable doll and used it as a weapon. Ha ha ha. It's time for you to die. After a moment of panic, Old Mo seemed to be a little excited. You're the president of Wulin. That's great. After killing you, our fledgling plan will be 1 step closer to our goal. Old Mo was so happy that his hands seemed to be entangled with many transparent silk threads. Corpse stitching skill. This idea floated in Li Fan's mind. He swung his hands, and more silk threads flew out. The 12 ghost-masked men who were killed, once again stood up coyly, bringing with them a very strange aura. Corpse stitching skill. Isn't this the lost kung fu of the devil cult? Muronging also recognized this kung fu. Ha ha ha. Yes, you're right. I didn't stay here for nothing. As Old Mo spoke, he controlled the 12 men with ghost masks and the multi-purpose puppets he made, and they all pounced on Muronging. Amitba. Do you need help, President? Pewdie asked with some concern, but Li Fan patted him on the shoulder. Dude, those who steal people's lives are all dogs. Ha! Pewdie obviously didn't understand, but Muronging had already launched another attack. As the president of Murong, she still stepped on the railing and opened her hands. From her palms, pieces of cherry blossom petals flew out, turning illusion into reality. What the? Old Mo was dumbfounded. The legendary martial arts realm was really used today. And it was a little girl. These cherry blossom petals directly penetrated the bodies of the men with ghost masks, tore them apart in the air, and cut off the silk threads that Old Mo used to control his puppets. Damn it, Old Mo couldn't sit still anymore, and the disgusting smile on his face disappeared. What's wrong? Don't you feel proud? Muronging looked down at Old Mo in the wheelchair. Damn it. How can you be so powerful? Old Mo looked a little dull. Has the martial arts of Huaxia surpassed so much? No, since you're the president of Wulin, you must be the most powerful in Huaxia. Sorry, I also want to be the most powerful in Huaxia. Muronging shrugged her shoulders. Unfortunately, there's always someone better than you. There are too many people who are more powerful than me in Huaxia. That's absolutely impossible. Old Mo didn't believe Muronging at all, and his eyes suddenly fell on Li Fan. That person is your man, right? I'd like to see whether you have the courage to kill your man. As old Emo said, he suddenly ejected invisible silk threads, which instantly bound Li Fan. What? Li Fan was a little surprised to see that his hands didn't listen to him and moved twice. Ha ha ha. You're my puppet now. Damn it, how can I do that? Looking at old Mo's complacent smile, Li Fan immediately curled his lips. I don't want to be your puppet. It's so disgusting. It's not up to you. Old Emo said arrogantly, my corpse stitching skill is unparalleled in the world. No matter how powerful you are, once you've been hit by this skill, you have to obey my orders obediently. As he said, old Emo controlled Li Fan and made Li Fan jump up. Using lightness skill, he landed on the second floor and stood in front of his fiancée. Okay. Muronging didn't care, I'll chop off your head first, and then this Japanese old man. Damn it, calm down. I'm your fiancé. Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat, while old Emo burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, stupid Chinaman, go and kill each other. As he said, he controlled Li Fan and made Li Fan attack Muronging. However, Li Fan didn't move even a bit when old Emo activated the silk threads. What? Old Mo was very surprised that his corpse stitching skill didn't work. How could it be? Old man, have you had enough fun? Li Fan lowered his voice and seemed to be a little unhappy. It's my turn, right? Chapter 486. That's impossible. Old Emo felt that he had suffered a great shock today. It seemed that the whole world had changed. All of this was against his common sense. Old man, come on, take my punch. Li Fan was very unhappy that this old guy wanted to control him like a puppet. The name, Little Tyrant, was not just for show. The thing that Li Fan hated the most was someone controlling him. He took a step forward and threw a punch at the old man's face. Bang! Old Mo's body flew out directly. He spun several times in the air and finally broke the wall behind him. He fell from the second floor to the ground outside. Old Mo's legs were disabled. Without a wheelchair, he could hardly move. At this time, he was lying in the sand in embarrassment and moaning painfully. You're here to kill me again. Muronging was very unhappy and glared at Li Fan. Nonsense, I didn't kill him. Li Fan hurriedly corrected Muronging's point of view. I helped you, okay? It's a godly assist. Humph. Muronging flicked her sleeves and lightly landed outside along the broken wall. She looked at the old Japanese spy lying on the ground. Who else is involved in the fledgling project besides you? Muronging was a little worried about the fledgling project, which didn't sound like a good thing. Ha ha ha, don't expect me to tell you. Old Emo was a little desperate, but his faith in the Mikado was not extinguished. You Chinese people are the stupidest people in the world. Our fledgling wings will spread again. The iron hooves of our Mikado will step on your land again. Muronging's high-heeled shoes stepped on his forehead and pierced his eyebrows. In this case, it's useless to keep you alive. Damn, you killed him just like that. Li Fan followed her out and couldn't help asking when he saw the old man's body lying on the ground. Torture him and make him tell us the name list of the fledgling project members. These people are brainwashed death warriors. Muronging said straightforwardly, he's the same as the devil cult's men of sacrifice, very tight-lipped. Even if they die, they won't reveal their secrets. All right. Li Fan sighed. It was a pity that the true qi in his body was gone. Otherwise, if he absorbed it, he could have made some progress. Although this old man was crippled, he was indeed an expert who had reached the peak of perfection. In addition, if he entered the Jianghu with 12 experts, he could indeed stir up a bloody storm. However, he was unlucky enough to bump into Muronging. Luo Xiaofeng, how could you not know that there is such a big collaborator in Yaowang village? Li Fan couldn't help but complain to Dr. Luo. Sigh, we don't care about the secular world, Luo Xiaofeng hurriedly explained. Every day I'm busy refining pills. As for what happens outside the valley, it has nothing to do with us. He continued, the Medicine King village is only responsible for the livelihood of our valley, such as sending us some vegetables and meat. As for other matters, we don't care about them. Speaking of which, it's really dangerous, Li Fan exclaimed. If he does something to the Medicine King Valley, I'm afraid that this place where the treasures of China are kept will cease to exist. No one can control the Medicine King Valley. Luo Xiaofeng said confidently, the Medicine King Valley is a maverick existence. No matter who it is, they can't control the Medicine King Valley. But there's someone who wants to control us. Murongning looked into the distance with a hint of worry in her eyes. If Li Wei really becomes the emperor of the pugilistic world, I'm afraid that no sect in the Jianghu will be able to escape his clutches. Alliance leader, why don't you become the emperor of the pugilistic world? Luo Xiaofeng was not familiar with the affairs of the world and knew nothing about them. Hence, he asked a question that made Murongning feel extremely awkward. It's no longer a feudal society. Murongning reminded Luo Xiaofeng. The Jianghu doesn't need an emperor. The gold and silver swordsman is back. Li Fan saw a small white truck driving over slowly. The gold swordsman was driving while the silver swordsman was standing on the dump truck at the back. Damn, this car is a little too advanced. It's good enough to have a seat. As Murongning spoke, she stomped on the ground and somersaulted in the air. Then, she landed steadily on the back of the truck. Master, please take a seat in the car. The silver swordsman hurriedly half-knelt in front of Murongning and requested respectfully. It's all right, the scenery outside is good. Murongning did not care about that. She stood in the car and gestured for Li Fan and the others to follow her. Okay, even the alliance leader sits in such a car, let alone small fries like us. Li Fan laughed self-deprecatingly while Pewdie added, even an expert like Li Fan is a small fry. If an expert like Benefactor Li is just a small fry, then aren't we just ants? Buddha says that all living beings are equal. Li Fan reminded Pewdie. Almsgiver Li is right, this little monk is too arrogant. The perverted monk immediately changed his words, and Li Fan laughed again. No, Pewdie, you haven't said that all living beings are equal. Why do you usually only enlighten female benefactors? Why don't you take the time to enlighten male benefactors? Amitba. Excellent, Pewdie's face was pale, and he was obviously frightened by Li Fan's words. Moreover, these words made him unable to refute. It was simply stabbing his heart. You two, stop bickering. Who can help Luo Xiaofeng? Murongning reminded them. Luo Xiaofeng, who just said that he had the ability to protect himself, was now climbing the dump truck at the back of the car. He was using both his arms and legs, but he was very clumsy and could not get up. In the end, Li Fan could not bear it and reached out to pull him up. Thank you. Luo Xiaofeng sat in the car and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. This Luo Xiaofeng was a little fat, and obviously lacked exercise. These pharmacists probably sat in front of the furnace every day, refining pills day and night, and did not have the time to exercise. It seems that Dr. Luo needs a bodyguard. Li Fan looked at Luo Xiaofeng and could not help but want to laugh at him. Li Fan, you have to be nicer to Luo Xiaofeng. Why? Sometimes, Murongning liked to make decisions for others, which made Li Fan a little confused. Don't forget, you run an escort agency. Murongning reminded Li Fan, which escort agency doesn't live on the edge of a knife. Having a pharmacist will only benefit your agency. She looked at Li Fan's shocked expression and paused for a moment before continuing. Furthermore, the pharmacists of the Valley of the Medicine Masters are highly sought after in the martial arts world. Even the 4 alliances of the martial arts world treat pharmacists as distinguished guests. What you have is what all the famous sects in Jianghu want. Chapter 487. Murongning took Li Fan and the others all the way back to City A. Li Fan arranged for Luo Xiaofeng to stay in the small earth building of the company and specially found someone to build a small courtyard for him with bricks and tiles. Murongning provided the Shenong cauldron, and Luo Xiaofeng went in and was unwilling to come out. The Jianghu had been turbulent recently, and Li Fan's mobile app updated the news of the Jianghu every day. Recently, the most talked about sect in the Jianghu was the Invincible sect. This evil sect had been silent for a long time, and seemed to have gathered its strength and began to stir up waves in the Jianghu. Every sect was more or less attacked by the evil sect, and the whole Jianghu was filled with the smell of gunpowder. And as the leader of the Jianghu, Murongning was really busy now. Not only did she sign all kinds of documents every day, she often went out to run around. And Tai Zhu, since the last time Murongning was imprisoned, followed his mistress closely, for fear that she would encounter any danger. In City A, it seemed to be the 2 extremes. Recently, it was very comfortable. The yellow-clothed society was equivalent to being destroyed, and the remaining 2 forces were frantically fighting for the territory of the yellow-clothed society. This time, Lu Xinan and Yang Ruining completely fell out, and the Vanguard Army and the Red Dragon Society would occasionally fight. However, this did not affect Li Fan at all. Every day, he went to school, occasionally went to the company, and usually concentrated on practicing martial arts at home. Big brother, something is really not right. When Li Fan was resting in the dojo at home, he received a call from Huang Lei. Old Guan and Psycho Yen have been out for a month. Huang Lei always had a bad feeling. How can a mission take so long? Can you contact them? After hearing what Huang Lei said, Li Fan also felt strange. Did something really happen to these 2 people? I can't contact them. In order to prevent malicious tracking, they left their phones at home. I got it. I'll send someone to inquire about them. Li Fan hung up and called Ling Tian. You mean the 2 of them? This was the first time Ling Tian was unable to fulfill Li Fan's request. I do have some information in the underworld, but I don't know much about the matters of the pugilistic world. However, you already have good resources by your side, so why did you come looking for me? I got it. Li Fan knew who Ling Tian was talking about, but it was impossible for him to shamelessly beg Murongning. Fuck. What's the point of saving face at this time? Li Fan secretly blamed himself. His brother's whereabouts were unknown, and he was still fussing over the issue of face. He patted his cheeks and stood up. Li Fan, who was wearing a loose martial attire, turned around and left the training hall, arriving at the study room on the 2nd floor. The gold and silver swordsman was like a door god, guarding the door of the study room. Just as Li Fan was about to go forward, the 2 of them pulled out their swords at the same time, staring at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. What's the meaning of this? Li Fan frowned. Without master's summon, outsiders are not allowed to enter. The gold and silver swordsman said very impolitely. Interesting. Li Fan sneered, I'm in my own home. Do I need to be controlled by you guys? You can do whatever you want in other rooms, but not here. The gold and silver swordsman's attitude was firm. The silver swordsman added, also, don't forget, this is master's home, not yours. You're awesome. Li Fan gave a thumbs up. This brother's words were definitely to provoke his anger. Go back. The gold swordsman pointed his sword at Li Fan. Otherwise, it won't be good for you. Then what if I insist on going in? Li Fan asked. No matter who you are, you'll be a corpse in the next second. The Silver Swordsman's words might be similar to Murong Ying's, but it also completely infuriated Li Fan. Get out of the way. Li Fan took a step forward, and the gold and silver swordsman's swords pierced toward Li Fan at the same time. However, Li Fan stretched out his hands and grabbed a sword in each hand. Although the sword chi of the gold and silver swordsman was sharp, it couldn't break through Li Fan's body protection. Get lost. Li Fan pushed with his hand, and the sword hilt hit the chest of the gold and silver swordsman, poking one of their acupoints. The blood of the two was immediately blocked. They half knelt on the ground at the same time, unable to move for a long time. Next time, when you're stronger, come and play with me. Li Fan said, and under the unwilling gazes of the two, he walked into Murong Ying's study. Although it was a study, for Murong Ying, it was no different from an office. She worked here every day and was very busy. Tai Zhu was in the kitchen, making some supplements for his miss to eat. At this time, Murong Ying was gently lying on her desk, seemingly taking a nap. Although Li Fan was a little angry just now that he saw Murong Ying, his anger dissipated. This girl must be exhausted. She seemed to be sleeping, quite quiet. If only she could be like this all the time, how obedient she would be. Li Fan couldn't help but stretch out his hand, wanting to touch Murong Ying's hair. But at this time, the hair on Li Fan's hand suddenly trembled, and he subconsciously retracted his right hand. Dang! A red tasseled flying knife pierced the wall next to him. If Li Fan hadn't retracted his hand in time, his palm would have been pierced. Who is it? Li Fan immediately looked back, but Murong Ying seemed to be too tired. She was still sleeping soundly and didn't wake up. The main thing was that the flying knife just now didn't have any murderous intent towards Murong Ying. Otherwise, even if she was sleeping soundly, she would definitely wake up in time. The room was empty, and only one window was open. Heh, want to play? I will accompany you. Li Fan walked to the window, bent his knees, and jumped out of the window. 3 flying knives immediately shot over from the opposite side, forming a triangular shape, shooting straight at Li Fan. But this didn't pose a problem for Li Fan. His body spun in the air, and 2 fingers flicked, sending the 3 flying knives flying. Another 2 flying knives drew an arc in the air, one up and one down, one left and one right, shooting at Li Fan. Li Fan didn't panic. His body shook in the air, and he actually stepped on the 2 flying knives. He stepped on them and flew to the opposite roof. Paw paw paw. Another 3 flying knives, this time in a straight line, like a train, went straight to Li Fan's face. Li Fan couldn't help but be in awe. No matter what, the person opposite was a master of flying knives. He actually didn't have the confidence to deflect these 3 flying knives. Each of the flying daggers carried an astonishing amount of force, capable of piercing through him several times. It seemed that the other party really wanted to take his life. Chapter 488. Li Fan's body was in the air. Facing these 3 flying daggers with extremely strong penetrative power, he was also somewhat at a disadvantage. But Li Fan quickly adjusted his state. He took a deep breath and entered the lightning deer state. Li Fan's body spun in the air. He consecutively kicked out 3 rushing thunder feet. 3 electric lights flashed in the air. The 3 daggers were kicked away by Li Fan one after another. Dang, dang, dang. These 3 daggers were nailed to the opposite wall. The hilts of the daggers were embedded into the wall. But before Li Fan could be complacent, a flying dagger appeared in front of his eyebrows. This flying dagger was silent. When Li Fan was dealing with the 3 flying daggers, it had already arrived in front of him. If not for Li Fan's bullet-time vision, perhaps this flying dagger would have already pierced through his eyebrows. But in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, Li Fan's true chi condensed at a high speed and quickly emerged from his body. A vague figure stood up from behind him. It stretched out a true chi palm. With a snap, it grabbed the flying dagger in front of Li Fan's eyebrows. The figure condensed from true chi only appeared for a second before it dissipated. The sneak attack of the flying dagger also lost its attack power and fell to the ground. But Li Fan's reaction was very fast. He lifted his foot and kicked the flying dagger. The flying dagger drew an arc in the air and stabbed towards the figure on the roof. Dang! This flying dagger collided with another flying dagger. Both of them were sent flying in the air. But Li Fan also bought time. His body flashed in the air and landed on the roof of the opposite building. And a handsome pale-faced young man wearing a white trench coat was standing there. His right arm was wrapped in bandages and he was holding 3 flying daggers in his hand. Sorry, I'm already in front of you. Li Fan stood in front of this pale-faced young man and stared at him. This person looked the same as Yan Kai. He was obviously a man, but he was quite handsome. His hair was silver white and tied into a ponytail, hanging neatly behind him. He wore a black mask with a black dragon printed on it. Looking at this guy, he looked like a Chinibu. Do you want to report your name before launching a sneak attack on someone else's doorstep? I have nothing to say to a shameless person like you. The other party's voice was slightly rough. He glared at Li Fan as if he was very hostile. Which organization are you from? Can you at least tell me? Li Fan asked, the embroidered uniform guard. Vanguard. Golden Eagle Castle. Storm. Devil Cult. After Li Fan finished speaking, he could not help but complain. Damn, I seem to have offended too many organizations. Guess it yourself. The pale-faced man threw out 2 more flying knives, but Li Fan's figure had disappeared in front of him. In the time it took to breathe, Li Fan was standing next to him, a finger pressed against his temple. If I were you, I'd have a calm talk. Li Fan persuaded. Even if I die, I'll bring you to hell with me. The pale-faced man said as he opened his trench coat, revealing several rows of flying knives hanging inside. Fuck, this person, if he goes out on the street with this, won't he be arrested as a terrorist? Then you should leave first. Li Fan was about to kill when a figure suddenly fell down and reached out to grab Li Fan's arm. A familiar fragrance. What are you doing? Li Fan looked at Muronging with some dissatisfaction. Are you here to snatch my head? Snatch what head? We're on the same side. Muronging rolled her eyes at Li Fan, then with a gentle tone, she said to the pale-faced man, why are you here? On the same side. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. This was different from the organization he imagined. 2 things suddenly appeared that caught Li Fan's attention. One was the identity of this man, and the other was some kind of kung fu that he had just displayed during the crisis. True chi seemed to condense into something in an instant, turning illusion into reality. No. It seemed to be a certain state of sky-swallowing toad. But this state seemed to be stronger than the usual sky-swallowing toad. It was just a matter of a moment, but it really made Li Fan somewhat uncertain. Eldest miss, please marry me. This man actually knelt down in front of Muronging and said very sincerely, please be my woman. Let me stay by your side. Muronging was obviously speechless, and Li Fan was also taken aback. Fuck, what's going on? Why did he propose to Muronging? Are you mistaken? Li Fan frowned and stood in front of Muronging. Muronging is my woman. Humph, but you can't protect your woman. The pale-faced man sneered, otherwise, she wouldn't have been imprisoned. This has nothing to do with Li Fan. Muronging also defended Li Fan, he wasn't there at the time. That's because he didn't fulfill his responsibility as a husband. The pale-faced man continued to say unyieldingly, if it were me, I would protect Miss at all times. I have been training myself since I was young. I want to marry Miss and become her protector. Can I beat him? Li Fan asked. Okay, stop messing around. Muronging had a headache, there have been enough things recently. You two don't add to my troubles. How can I hold back my anger when someone is trying to steal my wife? Li Fan clenched his fists, and his knuckles made cracking sounds. The pale-faced man also grabbed the throwing knife with both hands, ready to fight at any time. Calm down, Li Fan, Tian Tian is a woman. Not even a woman. Ha! Li Fan froze for a moment. Another woman. Muronging has already pulled off the mask of the pale-faced man. Sure enough, a beautiful woman's face was revealed. No wonder she looks like a woman. It turns out she's really a woman. Miss, it doesn't matter if it's a woman. It seems that without the mask, the woman's voice has returned to normal. I have been learning to be a man since I was young. I will protect you like a man. As they spoke, Tai Zhu, who was standing at the window, shouted at them. Miss, son-in-law, dinner is ready. Ah. Sir Tai Zhu. When the woman saw Tai Zhu, her face was full of envy. I will definitely take Tai Zhu as my goal. What the? You can forget about it. Li Fan almost collapsed. Another person like Tai Zhu, he definitely can't stand it. What a strange worldview, to actually take Tai Zhu as his goal. Li Fan, let me introduce you. Yin family is my Murong family's retainer for generations. This Yin Tian Tian is one of my loyal retainers. By the way, last time I sent her to protect you, it was her. Li Fan is a bit confused. Damn, such a tomboy is called Tian Tian. And the other one is so soft, but is called Tai Zhu. What is wrong with this world? Chapter 489. There were a lot of things that Li Fan couldn't figure out. But the matter in front of him made him even more puzzled. Looking at Yin Tian Tian sitting across from him with a piece of bread in her hand and looking at Muronging who was eating with a face full of love, Li Fan felt uncomfortable no matter how he looked at it. He was really drunk. How could there be such a weirdo in this world? Li Fan was very puzzled. He thought that this world was too big and there were too many weirdos, so he couldn't recognize them all. Son-in-law, this is charcoal roasted beef treasure, eat more. Tai Zhu shyly placed a plate of beef treasure in front of Li Fan, eat more, to nourish your body. Fuck, I eat beef treasure to nourish my dick. Fuck, it really nourishes my dick. Li Fan felt a headache coming on. How should he deal with this table of weirdos? It was enough to have Tai Zhu, but now there was also Yin Tian Tian who was coveting his fiancée. Beef treasure is not nourishing, it's all rumors, brother-in-law doesn't need this kind of thing. Murong sat beside Li Fan and put a plate of braised pigtail into Li Fan's plate. Brother-in-law, it's a form of nourishing what you eat. Come, eat some of this. Fuck. Is your brother-in-law's vitals like a pigtail? Or is it rolled? Li Fan almost peed his pants because of Murong's love. He thought to himself, you little girl, how many times have you eaten it? Don't you know what it looks like? What does it mean to hold up the sky? What does it mean to be the godly needle of the East Sea? This girl is just deliberately teasing me. It was mainly because Li Fan was busy practicing that he might have neglected to keep in touch with Murong's love. This little girl, in private, was still very attached to him. And the gold and silver swords stood at the side, glaring at him, wishing that their gazes could turn into swords and poke holes in Li Fan. Sigh. This family is really awesome. That day, there was only him and Muronging staying here. At most, there was Tai Zhu, which was quite tiring. Now, there were 4 more mouthfuls. It was practically destroying his heart. Although the pressure of life was great, it shouldn't be like this. Li Fan was considering whether he should look for a house. That day, he was willing to live in Murong-Ying's house because he didn't have much money. But now, his escort agency was slowly on the right track. Even if he couldn't afford to buy a house, he could at least afford to rent one. If all else failed, he would just stay in his own earthen building. But Yin Xiaoru and Xia Hong were there. It didn't seem very convenient. However, it was time to think about it. It was not a good idea to always stay at Murong-Ying's place. Brother-in-law, what are you thinking about? Seeing that her brother-in-law was in a daze, constantly fiddling with the pig's tail with a fork, Murong's AI finally couldn't help but ask. Ah, right. Li Fan returned to business. Wife, is Murong's family's intelligence network powerful? Hearing Li Fan's question, Murong-Ying, who was originally focused on eating, raised her head and looked at Li Fan in confusion. Not bad. What do you want? Old Guan and Yan Kai have been out for more than a month, and there's no news of them. Li Fan asked, can you help me investigate their whereabouts? Murong-Ying gestured to Golden Swordsman, who immediately cupped his hands and left the dining room. After 5 or 6 minutes, he walked back in and whispered something in Murong-Ying's ear. Got it. Murong-Ying nodded and then told Li Fan, I didn't find any news of them. However, Murong's family's intelligence network is limited. If you want to know something, I recommend you to see the Phoenix King. Phoenix King. Who the hell was this guy? What a fantastic name. He's the all-knowing man in Jianghu, the biggest intelligence dealer. Murong-Ying said, he claims that his birds are everywhere in Jianghu, collecting intelligence for him. And he himself is the king of all birds, so people call him the Phoenix King. The all-knowing man in Jianghu. Yes. Murong-Ying nodded. He's very famous and has a high status in Jianghu. It's said that there's no news in Jianghu that he doesn't know. He even knows what kind of underwear my father wears. Holy shit. Really? Then what do you wear? Yin Tian threw a flying knife, which was caught by Li Fan's fingers. Don't worry. Although his intelligence network is powerful, it must be under surveillance. Murong-Ying smiled. Except for you and Xiao AI, I won't show my underwear in front of others. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly froze and continued to eat with her head down. Li Fan didn't notice the hidden meaning in her words. He was only worried about the safety of his 2 brothers. Where is this Phoenix King? I'll go find him. The fastest way is in Songjiang. Murong-Ying reminded Li Fan, but this Phoenix King is unreasonable. Every time he asks for intelligence, he will ask for a reward. Instead, the reward will depend on his mood. Now is not the time to worry about this. Li Fan said, Old Guan and Yan Kai's lives are hanging by a thread. I have to find them quickly. Okay, Tian, then you send Li Fan to the Yellow Springs Road. Ha! The Yellow Springs Road. Does he want me to die? The Yellow Springs Road is a place name, Murong-Ying added. Miss, I don't want to send him. I hate him, and want to vomit. Yin Tian said bluntly. This is an order. Murong-Ying was incomparably domineering and decisively ordered, accompany him to the Yellow Springs Road, not sleep with him. Why so many things? Okay, since it's Mrs. Request, I will do it even if I have to sacrifice my life. Tian reluctantly agreed, not to mention enduring a guy who disgusts me. Tell me where it is. I will go myself. Li Fan was unhappy as if he was begging her. Only the guide can take you to the Yellow Springs Road. Muronging explained, you have to control your temper. After all, it's to save people. Brother-in-law, I want to go too. Murong's eyes lit up. I heard the Yellow Springs Road is a very fun place. Fuck, where did you hear this from? No, Xiao Ai is not allowed to go. Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, Muronging flatly refused. Li Fan, you and Tian set off after dinner. She thought for a moment and ordered the silver swordsman to bring a black box. This box contains a night-luminescent pearl the size of an egg from Nanyang. Use this to exchange for information from the Phoenix King. He should agree. Okay, thank you. For the safety of his brother, Li Fan had to accept it for the time being. I owe you. Humph. Muronging seemed to be a little dissatisfied. Tai Zhu hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Son-in-law, we are a family, why do you always say you owe me? A family? Li Fan glanced at Tian and the silver swordsman who were hostile to him. Are they really a family? Chapter 490. Taking advantage of the night, Li Fan and Tian went all the way to Songjiang. The two of them were never meant to be together, but for the sake of Muronging, they were forced to be together. Tai Zhu sent them to the edge of Songjiang. As soon as the car drove away, the two of them immediately took 10 steps to the side, widening the distance between them. Humph, you can smell the stench from 10 meters away. Are you a dog? Li Fan rolled his eyes at Tian. Send me to the underworld, and then you can do whatever you want. I'm happy to send you to the underworld. Tian said and smiled. Her hands were holding a few knives, staring at Li Fan as if she was looking at a corpse. If we really fight, the one who will die is you. Li Fan told the truth, so I advise you to calm down. Humph, if it wasn't because of Mrs. Order, who would accompany you to this place? Tian was still complaining, staying with you for one more minute, I feel like I'm better off dead. Psycho. Li Fan felt that this Tian was a bit unreasonable. Her sexual orientation was not normal, but she also had some serious delusions. Ah. If you can die in this place, that would be great. At that time, I can marry Miss, accompany her to the church, and have children. Psycho, quickly point the way. Li Fan bluntly scolded. Tian reluctantly walked over, stood on the shore, and then took out a searchlight. She pointed it at the river a few times, as if she was giving some kind of signal. At this time, it was spring. The river ice had melted, and the river water was surging. After a long time, there was still no movement. What are you doing? Li Fan was a bit puzzled. What's the hurry? Wait. Tian snorted, smelly man is impatient, rushing to reincarnate. Damn, this Tian is asking for a beating. Li Fan felt that the devil sex Lu Runju was much more pleasing to the eye than her. Li Fan waited in the cold wind. His eyes fell on Lu Runju's right arm, looking at the bandage. Is your right hand injured? Humph, what do you know? Tian touches her right arm and says very proudly, in my right arm, there is a terrifying black dragon sealed. If it is released, the world will be destroyed. The way Tian spoke and acted was just like a boy with Chinibu syndrome. She had a handsome ponytail and was wearing boots. She pointed at Li Fan with her right hand. You, don't mess with me, or I'll use this black dragon to devour you. Li Fan felt speechless. This sister's brain was full of shit. At this moment, the sound of the river splashing could be heard. Finally, there was movement. Li Fan turned around and saw a flower boat approaching them. This flower boat was not long, only 5 meters long. There were 9 red lanterns hanging on the boat, making it look like a high-class ancient moving brothel. Go up. As Tian spoke, she stepped on the ground and landed lightly on the opposite ship. Li Fan gently bent his knees and bounced up. After a roll in the air, he steadily landed on the boat. His qigong was heaven-defying. When he landed, the flower boat did not even sway a bit. Tian seemed to be slightly surprised, but she did not say anything. No matter how good your qigong is, it is only for escaping. A short and stout boatman led them into the flower boat. In the middle of the boat, there was a clean short table. Tian kneeled beside the short table. Li Fan, who does not like to kneel, sat cross-legged opposite her. Miss may I ask what you want? A beautiful woman dressed in traditional Chinese clothing walked over, holding a wine menu and placed it in front of Tian. She actually called out Tian's name, making Li Fan somewhat surprised. 2 cups of Huangshan's new Hong. Tian ordered a wine that was not on the menu, but the beautiful attendant nodded her head. She turned around and left for a while. Not long later, she served 2 cups of wine in luminous glasses. May I know who Miss is entertaining this time? The beautiful attendant sat there and asked politely after serving the 2 of them the wine. Little tyrant, Li Fan. Tian said Li Fan's name, and the beautiful attendant smiled at Li Fan. Hello, Mr. Li. I hope you have a good time in the Yellow Springs. Li Fan felt very awkward when he heard this, but he did not know how to return the greeting. He could only quietly watch as Tian made the arrangements. After the beautiful attendant served the wine, she stood up and left. In the cabin, only the 2 of them were left. The boat slowly moved. Li Fan looked at Tian, feeling a little awkward. He simply closed his eyes and calmed himself down, silently circulating the inner force in his body. You actually closed your eyes. Unexpectedly, this action made Tian very unhappy. Bastard, I haven't even disgusted you yet, and you're disgusting me first. Tian seemed to be a little angry. She said to Li Fan in dissatisfaction, Li Fan, don't think that you're great just because you're the fiancé of the eldest miss. In our Murong family, and in the Yin family, no one acknowledges you. You're telling the truth. Li Fan did not care. He raised the wine cup and took a sip. This wine was really cool. Not only did it not have the strong taste of alcohol, but it also had a sweet and fragrant smell. Good wine. That's the truth. No matter how you defend yourself, you're just a freeloader. Tian said mercilessly, just like today, if it wasn't for the help of the eldest miss, you could only watch your brother die. Yes, what you said makes sense. And then? Li Fan asked, aren't I still Murong Ying's fiancé? Gigolo. I'll take that as a compliment. Li Fan did not have much confidence in his appearance. He looked like an ordinary person, but after practicing martial arts, he became a lot more spirited. I didn't choose the path in the beginning. But since I've already walked, I'll walk to the end. Li Fan said very calmly, I know you people look down on me, but everything I have now, I relied on my own fists to fight for it. Shameless. It was obviously the eldest miss who gave you everything. Dang. Li Fan's wine cup was slammed into the table by him. He looked coldly at Tian, little friend, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I've already repaid what I owed to Murong Ying. I'll tell you again, everything I have is from my own hard work. Didn't you use Murong's swordsmanship today? Tian pointed at the matter of Li Fan using 2 fingers to flick the flying knife in the air. And your internal strength, didn't it all come from the eldest Miss's body? I don't blame you for not understanding. Li Fan's eyes were cold, but once you enter the Yellow Springs, you can scram. Chapter 491. For the sake of eldest Miss, I didn't kill you. Tian seemed to be warning Li Fan, don't take it too far. It's important to know yourself. We really have a tacit understanding. Li Fan couldn't help but clap his hands. For the sake of Murong, I let you live until now. Although your skills are not bad, if I really want to kill you, you can only wait for your death. Tian seemed to look down on Li Fan's kung fu. Li Fan frowned. His palm slammed on the table, and the luminous cup that was embedded in it suddenly flew out and appeared in front of the two of them. In the next second, Li Fan's palm was about to slap the wine cup and then let the wine cup pierce through Tian's brain. But at this moment, it seemed that because Li Fan slammed the table and raised some dust, Tian suddenly sneezed. Li Fan didn't know why, but he subconsciously avoided Tian. The wine cup was hit by him, and it flew past Tian's ear, hit the wall behind her, and was embedded in it. Tian blinked her eyes and then asked softly, why are you angry? Why are you angry? This soft voice, compared to the tomboy Tian from before, was like a completely different feeling. As she let down her hair, letting it flow down, she said to Li Fan at the same time, Brotherly, this wine cup is very expensive. If you break it, the owner of the boat will be very angry. Li Fan frowned as he looked at the Tian in front of him, who seemed to have changed into a different person. What's wrong? Nothing. Tian tilted her head and looked at Li Fan with some confusion. Brotherly, what happened? You're different from before. Li Fan couldn't help but want to roar, are you playing with me? How could that be? Brotherly is eldest Mrs. Fiancé, how could Tian make you angry? Tian said charmingly, is Brotherly a little seasick? Don't worry, we'll be there soon. Brotherly, just bear with it for a while more. The way she called him Big Brotherly was really sweet. Damn. Are you kidding me? Looking at this beautiful woman with long black hair in front of him, Li Fan felt a little dizzy. Don't you hate me? How could this be? Tian exclaimed, how could Tian hate Brotherly? Tian likes to be friends with everyone. This was a completely feminine way of speaking, completely different from the style just now. Li Fan had a headache. He simply ignored Tian to prevent his headache from worsening. This girl. Who knows what's wrong with her? Brotherly, do you want anything else to drink? Tian kept asking, Brotherly, are you tired? Tian will give you a massage. With that, this girl really walked behind Li Fan and started to massage his shoulders. Li Fan originally wanted to refuse, but this girl's technique seemed to be quite good. It was quite comfortable. Li Fan originally wanted to refuse, but he swallowed it back into his stomach. At this moment, it was really hard to refuse. Brotherly's muscles are very strong. One look and I can tell that you've been training hard. I admire Brotherly's hard work the most. You're Tian's role model. Didn't you say that? I'm just a gigolo. How could that be? Who in their right mind would say such nonsense? Tian flatly denied, Brotherly has been training hard. Usually, I've been secretly observing you. You've been secretly observing me. Li Fan was a little surprised. Yes, it was eldest miss who ordered me to secretly protect brotherly. Tian nodded seriously. The fragrance from her body floated into Li Fan's nose, making him feel a little itchy. Tian has been carrying out your mission well. All right then, Muronging also had good intentions. Li Fan also didn't want to scold her. He asked some irrelevant questions, but his words completely showed that Tian didn't remember what she said before. But the things that Muronging ordered her to do, she remembered clearly. The boat should be arriving soon. Tian glanced at the ancient clock hanging on the wall. Just as she finished her words, the boat trembled slightly and seemed to have stopped. Following that, the cabin that the two of them were in started to shake. Following that, the table actually slowly sank down. What the hell? Li Fan frowned as he looked at the floor that they were sitting on sinking into the water. They seemed to be sitting on a lift surrounded by a glass wall that could see the murky water outside. But the bottom of the water was very dim, and they couldn't see any creatures around. Perhaps there were many fishes swimming in front of them, but they just couldn't see them. It's okay, brotherly. This Yellow Springs is under Songjiang. Tian comforted Li Fan. The floor continued to descend and finally fell into a deep underground passage. Tian and Li Fan walked out from the floor and stood in this underground passage. Next to the passage, there was an underground express train. Li Fan didn't know what to say. Should he say that this Phoenix King's hands and eyes are everywhere? To be able to build an unknown subway station in the underground of Songjiang. How huge the financial resources were needed to do this. Let's go. The train leaves on the dot. It's almost time. Tian was like a tour guide as she pulled Li Fan into the train. At this time, there were already some other passengers in the train. Some of them wore suits and leather shoes, and some wore ancient clothes. They came in all shapes and sizes, and it was unknown what their identities were. Everyone remained mysterious and silent to each other. Tian reminded Li Fan not to talk much and took him into an empty carriage. Are they all going to Yellow Springs Road? Li Fan finally couldn't help but ask. Tian nodded. Yellow Springs Road is a very famous place. However, Tian doesn't like it there very much. Why? Li Fan was very curious. What kind of place is this Yellow Springs Road? It's just. I don't like it. When brotherly goes there, you will know. Tian reminded him, but the girls on Yellow Springs Road are particularly bad. Brotherly, don't talk to them. Otherwise, you will be tricked by them to eat you. They will eat you until there are no bones left. Damn, so scary, Li Fan was shocked. Then I should be careful when the time comes. Yellow Springs Road. What kind of place is it? Li Fan became more and more curious, and the train finally started slowly. The speed of the fast train was also amazing. It was rumbling forward under the ground. Li Fan was practicing his qi, but the door of the carriage was suddenly opened. A male passenger walked in. He seemed to be travel-worn and in a hurry. On his waist, there was a ID tag inadvertently revealed. It was dark black with a yen seal character on it. Chapter 492. Clang. A throwing knife suddenly flew out and nailed the carriage door. The travel-worn man tilted his head and gently licked his lips. Tian. Li Fan didn't understand why Tian suddenly made a move. Brotherly, he's a black card assassin from King of Hell Palace. Tian quickly explained, he's coming for us. Little girl, how can you talk nonsense? The travel-worn man pulled out a scimitar from his waist. I'm indeed a black card assassin, but I'm not coming for you. He said, his eyes fell on Li Fan. I'm coming for him. King of Hell Palace. Is it an assassin organization? Li Fan has already guessed most of it, but he appeared very indifferent. He just sat there, looking at the man in front of him. It seems like a fledgling. The travel-worn man held the scimitar and stared at Li Fan. I really don't understand why you have the title of Little Overlord. However, today you will die in my hands. Remember my name, I'm a black card assassin from King of Hell Palace, Scorpion. As an assassin, don't you talk a bit too much? Li Fan let Tian Tian stand next to him. The current gentle version of Tian Tian, he didn't know how she would perform in a fight. But he was a man, how could he let a woman be in danger? It was even more impossible to rely on a woman to protect him. Brotherly, you have to be careful, King of Hell Palace's black card assassins are very powerful. Tian Tian reminded Li Fan from behind. Don't be afraid. Scorpion kindly reminded Li Fan, I will let you die without pain. With that, Scorpion suddenly jumped up and directly landed on the ceiling above his head, his whole body almost sticking to it. As an expert, flexible use of true chi is an essential ability for everyone. This Scorpion was like this, he circulated his true chi on the surface of his feet, like a suction cup, sucking the ceiling above his head, his whole body hanging upside down, his pair of eyes faintly emitted a red light. Scorpion suddenly pounced down, his body seemed to bring out a black phantom, and in an instant, he was in front of Li Fan. At the same time, the machete in his hand stabbed towards Li Fan's throat. This move was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was many times stronger than the ghost-faced assassin that Li Fan had encountered. The scimitar was about to touch Li Fan's neck, but Li Fan only stretched out 3 fingers and pinched the scimitar. Clang! Li Fan's hand pressed down, dragging Scorpion's body and smashing him to the ground. Scorpion spat out a mouthful of blood, but no one knew what kind of martial arts he practiced, but it was as if he was smeared with oil, instantly slipping away from Li Fan's palm. What a little overlord! You live up to your reputation. Scorpion wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Li Fan's move was not light at all, causing him to suffer some internal injuries. Fortunately, I'm prepared. Just as he finished speaking, the window of the carriage was suddenly shattered. A pair of hands reached in from the outside and grabbed Li Fan's neck, strangling him and pulling him out of the window. Li Fan was surprised. This Scorpion actually arranged a companion outside the carriage. Although the underground tunnel outside was not as narrow as the subway, it was definitely not that wide. To be able to hide in such a place for so long, it could be seen how bold the assassin outside was. Let go of Brotherly. Tian Tian threw out a throwing knife, but when it hit the man's arm, it bounced off. This is bad. Tian Tian exclaimed, this man is wearing soft armor inside. And Li Fan has been pulled out of the train and was in the middle of the whistling tunnel. Outside was a grinning shadow. No one knew what kind of evildoer he is, but he was pulling Li Fan as if he wanted to drag him to hell. Get lost. Li Fan grabbed the window with one hand and hit the man's lower abdomen with his elbow. The opponent was knocked away by Li Fan's elbow. His body immediately flew out and fiercely smashed into the opposite wall of the tunnel, causing gravel to fly out. But he had true chi protection on the outside and soft armor on the inside, so he was able to survive. Moreover, he crawled towards Li Fan on the back of the carriage. Scorpion was entangled by Tian Tian, while Li Fan flipped over and jumped in through the window, kicking Scorpion's body with both feet. Bang! Scorpion was kicked to the other side of the carriage by Li Fan. His body smashed into the window, causing cracks to appear on the window. This King of Hell sure has some tricks up his sleeves. They actually made a double assassination attempt on me. How did they know that I was coming to the Yellow Springs Road? Where did this assassin from King of Hell get this information? Could it be that Tian sold me out? That shouldn't be the case. Even if she hates me, she is still Murong Ying's person. She would not do something like betraying me for some brainless hatred. This is really strange. Li Fan could not figure it out. But now is not the time for him to think about these questions. Scorpion had already readjusted his state. Holding the curved blade, he sneered at Li Fan. Li Fan also circulated true qi throughout his body, focusing all his attention on Scorpion in front of him. Time is limited. He needs to kill this Scorpion in one blow before the other enemy arrives. Li Fan was just about to make his move when the ceiling was suddenly pierced by two arms. The assassin outside had actually locked Li Fan's head with both arms and hung him up just like that. Our teamwork is not bad, right? Scorpion laughed as he slashed at Li Fan's neck again. Li Fan raised his leg and kicked Scorpion away. At the same time, he entered the Dragon Emperor Snake state. Dragon Shattering Hand. Li Fan's right hand pierced through the iron sheet on top of his head. Following that, he felt his hand piercing through something hard, followed by a warm touch. Blood spurted out from the top of his head. The hands that were tightly wrapped around Li Fan also loosened. Scorpion had already attacked Li Fan from the side. The curved blade in his hand once again slashed at Li Fan. Spirit Snake bursts out of its hole. Li Fan's hand wrapped around Scorpion's arm, directly locking his attack, causing Scorpion to be stunned. Following that, Li Fan's four fingers instantly struck Scorpion's throat. This was not a light blow. Scorpion's face immediately turned green. He could not breathe for a long time. Both his hands clutched his throat, trying to gasp for air, but there was no oxygen flowing into his lungs. Who hired you? Li Fan questioned Scorpion, who was kneeling there, but Scorpion did not say anything to Li Fan. He glanced at Li Fan and suddenly swung his curved blade at Li Fan. Li Fan dodged to the side. The Scorpion had already jumped out of the window that had just been broken. They ran away. Tian looked out of the window. I can't see them. Looks like there is one more organization going against me. Li Fan looked at the blood on his hand and could not help but smile bitterly. Chapter 493. Let me help brotherly check it out. Tian seemed to be better at such things. Maybe we can find out who the mastermind is. Forget it, forget it. It doesn't matter if there are more lice. Li Fan waved his hand. He was already used to such things. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. I want to see what tricks Yen Luo Dian has up their sleeves. You have to be careful when you reach the Yellow Springs. These killers from Yen Luo Dian are everywhere. Tian reminded him. Since Brotherly has already placed a bounty on them, they will definitely pursue you to the death. I hope they are beauties. Li Fan smiled. There were too many things to worry about, and he didn't want to think about them anymore. How much longer until we reach the Yellow Springs? Li Fan asked. Soon. This train is quite fast. Yes. I can feel it. When he landed outside the train, he could already feel the crazy speed. Li Fan did not want to experience that thrill again. He sat in the carriage and waited for the train to reach its destination. After about 10 minutes, the train began to slow down. There was also a glimmer of light in the tunnel. We are about to reach our destination. Tian stood up and opened the carriage door. Welcome to the Yellow Springs. Damn, I can't accept this kind of welcome. But who asked the Phoenix King to give her territory such a name? What a weirdo. Enchanting led Li Fan down the train. Outside was a huge underground street. Li Fan felt as though he had arrived at a red light district. There were all kinds of brothels on both sides of the street. Red lanterns hung from the eaves, indicating a different kind of happiness on this street. There were many girls standing by the street, using all kinds of ways to seduce the customers. A few women kept throwing flirtatious glances at Li Fan. Tian hurriedly stretched out her hand to block Li Fan's view. "Brotherly, don't look at them. They are all bad women." Li Fan finally understood. The women here would eat people, and what it meant, they really knew how to eat people, and they would eat people until not even bones were left. "Little brother, come and play. It's fun." A beautiful woman crooked her finger at Li Fan. Her intention to tease him was very obvious. "Brotherly, don't listen to them." "All right, don't look, don't listen." "Then how am I supposed to walk?" Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Only then did Tian let go of her hand and said with some dissatisfaction, "This place is simply a den of devils." Tian didn't seem to like this place very much, but Li Fan couldn't take care of her preferences. Right now, he had to quickly meet the Phoenix King. Where should I find the Phoenix King? Li Fan stole a glance at the girls. Their outfits were too provocative. There were all kinds of styles. There were ancient costumes and Japanese cosplay costumes. This place was a man's paradise. The Phoenix King was indeed awesome. He actually managed to create such a huge pink industry in the Yellow Springs. Was he the king of intelligence or the king of lust? If you want to see the Phoenix King, you must give him a gift. Tian said as she took out a golden leaf from her bosom. "This is a greeting gift." With that, Tian endured her disgust and called a beautiful woman with a fox tail on her butt in front of her. "If it's a girl, you have to pay more." The fox-tailed beauty said in a sweet voice. "We want to see the Phoenix King." Tian ignored her words and placed the golden leaf in her palm. The fox-tailed beauty's expression turned cold as she sized up Tian. "Wait a moment." The fox-tailed beauty twisted her butt and returned to the brothel at the back. Li Fan stood on the street, looking left and right. There were all kinds of beauties around him. None of them looked bad. Outside, any one of them would be a well-known figure in the brothel. From this, it could be seen that the consumption level of this place was definitely not low. The Yellow Springs is heaven for the rich and hell for the poor. Tian seemed to have guessed Li Fan's thoughts and said in his ear, "Brotherly, don't come to this kind of place on normal days. Don't worry, I'm a person with perseverance and integrity." Li Fan said solemnly. And then, Tian believes in brotherly, Tian's current state. Although Li Fan was a bit unable to accept it, it was better than Tian who hated him. "Little brother, do you want to play?" A woman dressed like a cat girl was holding a banana in her hand. She slowly peeled it in front of Li Fan and then put it in her mouth and licked it with her tongue. Li Fan felt a little reaction in his body. This kind of scene, it's hard for people not to have a reaction. He's the guest of the Phoenix King. It was the voice of the fox-tailed beauty from before. Her words made the cat girl lose interest, and she obediently turned around and went back. A luxuriously decorated carriage trotted over and stopped beside them. "Come on up." The fox-tailed beauty opened the door of the carriage and invited Li Fan and Tian. "Okay. We'll just ride in the carriage for the rest of the journey." Li Fan was somewhat helpless, but he still got on the carriage. The carriage was very spacious. Li Fan and Tian sitting inside would not be crowded, not to mention that the fox-tailed beauty also sat on the carriage. Li Fan looked at her and could not help but ask. Can I ask you a question? What? The fox-tailed beauty was trimming her nails. Regarding beauty, women are always very persistent. Especially for women in this line of work, although they earn a lot of their expenses are used to make themselves more beautiful. Don't you feel uncomfortable with something stuffed in your back? Li Fan could not help but finally asked. Oh, it's okay. The fox-tailed beauty said casually, I'm used to it. If I don't stuff it now, it'll be a bit uncomfortable. This answer was amazing. At least, Li Fan could not refute it. So dirty. Tian could not help but mutter. This beauty, it's hard to say if it's dirty or not, but we're earning our hard-earned money. The fox-tailed beauty did not mind, everyone needs to survive, so why laugh at each other? Humph. Tian did not say anything and turned her head away from her. How long until we reach the Phoenix King? Li Fan asked. Believe me, I'm tired of sitting in the carriage. Not long. The fox-tailed beauty said, we can be happy for a while. If you stay long enough, we can be happy until the end of the journey. However, if you don't stay long enough, it doesn't matter, we can be happy for a few more times. The fox-tailed beauty winked at Li Fan. Chapter 494. Li Fan thought about it and finally decided to reject the fox-tailed beauty's suggestion. After all, he swore in his heart that his first time can only be given to the girl he likes. Although this fox-tailed beauty looks pretty good. But considering her occupation, he decided to forget about it. My brother Li has a firm will, he won't be confused by you. Tian subconsciously touched a flying knife, and Li Fan hurriedly pulled her little hand. An ordinary brothel girl is not worth using throwing knives to deal with. I'll just sit quietly for a while. Li Fan closed his eyes and felt the change of the qi in his body. This Yellow Springs is indeed a wonderful place. A huge pink organization. It can be considered the biggest pink industry that Li Fan has ever seen. Moreover, everything here is legal. No police will come to investigate them. Phoenix King is indeed omnipotent to be able to create this kind of place. To be able to spend money in this place is definitely not something an ordinary martial artist can afford. Is this your first time meeting Phoenix King? The fox-tailed beauty looked at Li Fan curiously. Don't be too nervous. Phoenix King is actually very easy to talk to. After all, he is a businessman. I hope so. Li Fan slowly opened his eyes. It's just that I didn't expect Phoenix King to have other industries other than the intelligence business. Are you talking about us? The fox-tailed beauty pointed at her chest. Then you are very wrong. What do you mean? Because Phoenix King's industry is not just us. The fox-tailed beauty smiled. Phoenix King owns the entire Yellow Springs. This place can be said to be the heaven for the rich. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. That means Phoenix King's industry should be very huge. Phoenix King is the underground king here. Tian explained to Li Fan, I heard that there is a gambling city here. I really want to go take a look. I won't go to the brothel and you won't go to the gambling city. We have a deal, how about it? Li Fan quickly pulled Tian. This girl is actually interested in the gambling city. Not only the gambling city, there are many other fun places. The fox-tailed beauty winked at them. I can be your guide as long as I pay. You're willing to be a guide? Li Fan was a bit surprised. Walking a few steps is better than being poked in the ass, right? Aren't you used to it? I'm used to it, but it doesn't mean the model won't change. The fox-tailed beauty covered her mouth and chuckled, while Li Fan's face was slightly red. Tian was fine. She couldn't understand the conversation between these two people. We are almost there. The fox-tailed beauty gently pushed open the window and looked outside. We's Phoenix King. This Phoenix King really knows how to name. Li Fan looked out. In front of him was a bridge, which was connected to a huge Chinese-style palace. King, 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 king. This guy, living in this kind of palace, did he think he was an underground emperor? It was hard to say. With such a huge underground business, no one would deny that he was the emperor here. That was hard to say. With such a huge underground industry, no one would deny that he was the emperor. They were clad in golden red armor, and each of them had a long blade hanging from their waists. This Phoenix King's guards are all martial artists. He's really traditional. Just as Li Fan finished speaking, he saw some bodyguards in black suits in the city. Each of them brazenly held a Remington shotgun. Violence and safety coexisted. This Phoenix King. What kind of person is he? Li Fan did not dare to imagine. The carriage was unimpeded. It entered the courtyard and finally stopped in front of the hall. The fox-tailed beauty led Li Fan and Yin Tian Tian to an elevator. However, the fox-tailed beauty reminded them, only one person can enter. Which one of you wants to see the Phoenix King? Me. Li Fan took a step forward. Yin Tian Tian tactfully took a step back. Brotherly, I'll wait for you here. N. Li Fan looked at the two tower-like bodyguards standing on both sides. The two of them also glanced at Li Fan before holding their shotguns and looking forward like door gods. Li Fan stepped into the elevator. The fox-tailed beauty could only send him here. 12 floors. The fox-tailed beauty reminded him. Got it. Thank you for your help. Li Fan said goodbye to the two of them and watched the elevator door slowly close. The elevator trembled but did not rise. Instead, it chose to descend. Damn, descending again. This guy wants to go all the way to the 18th level of hell. Li Fan could not help but ridicule. The elevator descended to a certain level and finally stopped. The elevator door slowly opened. In front of Li Fan was a beautiful underwater world. The surrounding walls were made of transparent glass. Outside the glass, there were many bright lights, which illuminated the water in a myriad of colors. There were many beautiful fishes swimming around in groups. It was a beautiful sight. It seemed that this place should be under some water. Perhaps it was the sea. A long crystal corridor led to a huge desk in front. A somewhat fat man was sitting behind the office desk, smoking a very expensive-looking tobacco pipe in his hand. Are you surprised? This fat man seemed to be Phoenix King. He really could not see any similarity between him and an underground emperor. This man did not even have a guard. He met Li Fan alone. He took a puff from his tobacco pipe and continued, people who come here for the first time will be surprised. But this is human, there is nothing that cannot be done. Are you Phoenix King? That's right, the world's #1 intelligence king. The fat man nodded. Oh, I know what you're thinking. But believe me, being fat has nothing to do with ability. This Phoenix King. Li Fan felt that his eyes seemed to have some kind of magic power. He could even see through him. Everyone who comes here has something to ask of me. The Phoenix King tapped his smoking pipe. Money, women, happiness. Of course, there is also intelligence. Tell me, what is it that you want? He used his tobacco pipe to tap the golden leaf beside him. Phoenix King will grant all your requests. I want to know the whereabouts of Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai. Oh, the descendant of the Guan family and that abandoned disciple of Wudong. Phoenix King nodded. To be honest, I am still very optimistic about your escort agency. Do you still accept investments? This. I am not interested at the moment. Li Fan felt that he had no secrets in front of this Phoenix King. Alright then, it is not difficult to know their information. Phoenix King seemed to be talking about something very casual, but everything that you know from me comes with a price. Chapter 495. I'm prepared. Li Fan immediately takes out that beautiful southern pearl, opens the box and shows it to Phoenix King. The moment the box was opened, a round white light almost illuminated the large underwater room. Even Phoenix King's eyes brighten up. Alliance Master Murong Shure is generous. She even took out her treasured southern pearl. Phoenix King immediately recognizes that this is Murong Ying's item. Although this item is good, I do not lack money. Phoenix King's words cause Li Fan to be shocked. You want to use this pearl to exchange for my information? That's not enough. Oh. Li Fan does not know what Phoenix King wants. Furthermore, as the little tyrant, isn't it a little boring for you to use your wife's item to exchange for your brother's safety? Phoenix King's words have indeed stabbed Li Fan's spine, but it also caused Li Fan to be a little confused. If you don't want the luminous pearl, then what do you want? Of course it's something that only little tyrant has. Phoenix King chuckles before waving at Li Fan. Come here. Li Fan is not afraid. He immediately walks forward and stands in front of Phoenix King's desk. Let me bring you to a place first. As Phoenix King speaks, he presses the switch on the desk. The ground beneath their feet suddenly trembles. Following that, the area around the desk rises up and slowly rises above their heads. The ceiling above their heads also opens up, allowing this area to enter. Are you guys following the Rubik's Cube building? Li Fan is slightly speechless. You've seen my figure. Phoenix King patted his belly. I am also too lazy to walk these few steps. Damn, this is too lazy, Li Fan is powerless to retort. He only glances at Phoenix King's bulging belly. Fine, no one would doubt him if he says he is pregnant for 10 months. If a man does not have a bit of magnanimity, how can he do great things? Phoenix King patted his belly while smoking his tobacco pipe. When you have a belly, you will naturally understand. It's better if I don't understand. Li Fan shook his head repeatedly. This big belly, what was the use of it? It was very inconvenient for him to fight. Men, when they reach a certain age, that's where their big bellies come from. The Phoenix King patted Li Fan's shoulder. I think highly of you. Fuck, this guy, he has a big belly, but he still wants others to have a big belly. He was really crazy. But no matter how crazy this person was, Li Fan had to accompany him first. For the safety of his two brothers, it was nothing for him to compromise a little. Light gradually appeared above their heads, and there was an earth-shattering noise. Li Fan blocked the blinding light and rose to the top. There was a large audience outside, surrounding a stage that wasn't very big. The stage was surrounded by barbed wire, and there were two strong men locked inside, fighting back and forth. Rather than a fight, it was more like a slaughter. This is the underground arena. Li Fan could see that this place was definitely a place for a fight. He and the Phoenix King rose to a VIP hall. High up, they looked down at the arena. The arena was not big. Other than the barbed wire, there were also deep pits all around, as if falling in would turn one into minced meat. The two strong men fought for a long time, neither giving in to the other, and their attacks were very ruthless. Li Fan watched from above for a long time, watching one of the men break the other's neck and throw it into the abyss. The surrounding audience roared excitedly, wave after wave, one louder than the other. Li Fan, this is an arena under my name. The Phoenix King introduced, other than people who want to earn money, there are also some extremely vicious death row criminals in the world who compete here. Only by continuously fighting here will they be able to survive. And then there are no powerful contestants recently. You also saw that me, the audience, all like to watch bloody scenes. If it wasn't exciting enough, they wouldn't be willing to buy it. And then Li Fan seemed to have guessed it. As the little tyrant, the audience must be looking forward to it. Li Fan, go down and help me fight 3 matches. As long as you win all 3 matches, I will tell you the whereabouts of your 2 brothers. Alright, it's a deal. Li Fan immediately agreed. Fighting was something he was good at. Furthermore, he did not need to use Murong Ying's baby. This was the best. It was good to owe one less favor to Murong Ying. Just 3 matches. I, the Phoenix King, will fulfill all your requests. I am a man of my word. The Phoenix King promised, as long as you can win and come back alive. All right. It's a deal. Li Fan became spirited. The 2 of them had agreed on a deal. Li Fan was led out of the VIP room. Seemingly because of the preparation, he was brought into a resting room. The Phoenix King was quite kind to him. He was the only one in the resting room, which was very comfortable. Furthermore, he was lying on the bed, and there were 2 beautiful masseuses giving Li Fan a massage. The big screen in front of him was still showing the battle between the 2 contestants. A beautiful attendant walked over from the side. She was pushing a dining cart with all kinds of exquisite dishes on it. Mr. Li, do you want to eat anything before the match? She asked. No need. Li Fan did not have much appetite right now. He asked, I have a friend waiting outside. Can you help me call her in? Are you talking about Miss Yin? The beautiful attendant smiled. The Phoenix King has already arranged for her to rest in another resting room. Because this is the contestants' resting room, unrelated people are not allowed to enter. Oh, all right then. As long as she has a place to rest. Li Fan was worried that if Yin Tian waited for too long, she would be anxious. Since Mr. Li does not want to eat, you can choose your clothes later. The beautiful attendant pointed at the big screen. A set of clothes appeared on it for Li Fan to choose from. Li Fan saw a bare-chested man wearing only a pair of loose pants on his lower body. However, that person's back was tattooed with a colorful tattoo. It was a malevolent divine dragon. Can I choose this one? Li Fan asked. Of course. The beautiful attendant nodded her head. What kind of tattoo does Mr. Li need? Our tattoo artist here is very professional and can help you make it on the spot. Is there one that can't be seen normally and will only appear during a battle? Li Fan did not want to be too high profile on normal days, so he tried to ask. Yes, what you need is a pigeon blood tattoo. We can do it. The beautiful attendant pulled out a bunch of tattoo styles from the screen. Which one do you need? Before the match, we can help you to tattoo it for free. With a glance, Li Fan took a fancy to a tattoo style. On it was a strong man crouching over a tiger. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.